Chapter 1337. The Great Elder had parried with his life on the line, which was also the maximum power of a high-level Saint Emperor. Although the Phoenix Emperor could withstand it, he still suffered a considerable amount of damage, and his movements were slightly sluggish. Therefore, when the enemy counterattacked, it was his turn to be unable to avoid it. The Fox Emperor was slightly slower, but the attack that he had been accumulating for a long time had arrived on time. Furthermore, Second Elder Fox was attacking from the side. Even if the Phoenix Emperor had the ability to see through heaven and earth, it was difficult for him to avoid it completely. After evading Second Elder's sword that was filled with murderous intent, he was still hit by half of the Fox Emperor's palm force. However, it was only this half of the palm force that had caused the Phoenix Emperor to suffer heavy injuries. In order to kill Yun Yang, the Phoenix Emperor was even prepared to suffer heavy injuries. As long as Yun Yang was dead, it would be worth it for him to suffer heavy injuries. However, he had not expected to fall into a trap. Cultivators who had attained the level of a Saint Emperor could recover swiftly even if they were injured. Even if their physical body was destroyed, they could reincarnate and start anew. However, the Phoenix Emperor and the Fox Emperor were the pinnacle of this world. They would rarely suffer an attack from a cultivator of the same level head-on. Once they suffered injuries of this level, they would need to recuperate for a period of time, and it would even hinder their future cultivation to a certain extent. The Phoenix Emperor had suffered half of the Fox Emperor's palm force, but he used the remaining force of the collision to rise into the air, bouncing 1,000 feet into the air. With a flash, he turned into a giant phoenix, circling in the air for a while before shouting, "Retreat!" All the experts of the Phoenix clan did not hesitate when they heard him. They attacked at the same time, then retracted their bodies and rose into the air, following the Phoenix Emperor. A fiery cloud could be seen in the sky as it flew far away, disappearing in the blink of an eye. It was only then that the Fox Emperor landed on the ground. He actually staggered a couple of steps, his face flushed red. When Second Elder landed, he staggered 7 to 8 steps before he dashed forward and cried out, "Boss!" He dug the ground with all his might without stopping. He dug all the way down to a depth of 70 to 80 feet before he saw the Fox Clan head elder's body, which had almost been beaten into a meat patty. His eyes were rolling, and there was already a pool of blood beneath him. Faced with the Phoenix Emperor's full-powered attack, the Great Elder was already on guard, and had even activated his origin core long ago, activating a power that surpassed his own limits. However, the Great Elder was still far from being able to match the Phoenix Emperor's full-powered attack. Not only were all the bones in his body broken, even his skull was split into several pieces. This was also because the sage possessed an almost immortal body. Otherwise, with this kind of injury, even if he were to struggle at death's door for a moment, it would still be hard to avoid the fate of bidding farewell to this world. Speaking of which, the First Elder was able to take a full power attack from the Phoenix Empress head-on. Although he was severely injured, he was now lying on the ground like a pile of mud, his eyes filled with terror. However, he was still a top-notch expert of the demon race. With this battle record, he could boast about it for the rest of his life. After all, not everyone had the ability to take a full-powered attack from a top-notch expert like the Phoenix Empress head-on and not die. Yun Yang had already returned to the Fox Emperor and heaved a soft sigh of relief. The Phoenix Empress ability is terrifying indeed. If I were the one to take this blow, even if I had 8 to 10 lives, I'd still be annihilated. There'd be no chance of survival. The Fox Emperor's expression was suffused with indescribable excitement as he said, "Child, you're indeed the culprit who stirred up the demon race previously. Your intelligence is truly remarkable. You managed to prepare a counterattack under such a deadly situation, and King succeeded. At the cost of not losing any lives on your side, you managed to injure the Phoenix Empress instead. How remarkable." Yin Yang chuckled. "Big brother, you're too kind. You think too highly of this young brother. If it weren't for Big Brother revealing the Phoenix Empress' demonic nature, temperament and ability level, as well as our Great Elder's willingness to take such a risk, how could this plan have worked? How is the Great Elder's injury? Is it serious?" The Fox Emperor shook his head. "Don't worry. As long as he doesn't die on the spot, it's fine. Speaking of which, the Great Elder might even have to thank you. You're the one who made him famous. Throughout the entire demon race, other than the emperors of each race, there's hardly anyone who can fight the Phoenix Empress and survive a full-powered attack from him. Yun Yang said seriously, there's a limit to a person's strength in this plan. If not, I wouldn't have been willing to let the Great Elder take such a risk. If the Great Elder were to die, I wouldn't be able to rest easy for the rest of my life. The Fox Emperor's expression grew more amiable. After this battle, the Phoenix Empress' ability will inevitably be slightly reduced. The safety factor of our return trip will increase by at least 10%. Although he definitely won't let go just like that. With the cat and I working together, we can make him return empty-handed. Speak of the devil. The Cat Emperor arrived with a look of disbelief. F***ck. You really didn't come for me? I am not as important as a human supreme saint. Who would F***king believe this? Who would believe it? The Fox Emperor grinned and sighed. The truth is right in front of us. What's there to say? Who's serious if we hurry on our journey at full speed now? Let's get 20,000 miles away first before anything else. After this battle, the Phoenix Empress's respect for Yun Yang will probably go up another level. As expected by the Fox Emperor, the Phoenix Empress remained hidden throughout the rest of the journey, attacking ceaselessly despite her injuries. In spite of this, Yun Yang could see clearly that the Phoenix Empress really did not want to fall out with the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor, so she did not attack the both of them directly. In spite of this, there were many lords of the Fox clan and the Cat clan, protecting Yun Yang well. In addition to the Cat Emperor and the Fox Emperor's full protection, the Phoenix Empress could not do anything to Yun Yang. After the first attack, the Phoenix Empress struck 3 times consecutively within the span of 2 hours. It was a thrilling experience. These 3 times were different from the first. They were all direct confrontations and deceptive tricks. Against a wise person like the Phoenix Empress, it was already too many to be effective once. If she repeated the same trick again, she would only be seeking her own death. Because of this, the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor worked together, one of them always by Yun Yang's side. The Phoenix Empress had no openings to exploit. Each time, it was one of the Phoenix Empress attacks that ended after one of the sovereigns had exchanged a blow with the Phoenix Empress. During the last time, seeing that the Phoenix Empress was even more aggressive, the 2 sovereigns attacked together and clashed fiercely with the Phoenix Empress. The clash this time caused the 3 sovereigns to suffer some injuries. The Phoenix Empress was already injured, but she had temporarily suppressed her injuries with her strong ability. Now that she was suddenly attacked by the 2 sovereigns, her injuries were worsened. She could not help but sigh at the sky. You 2 are foolish. Foolish. Perhaps we have a grudge between us, or perhaps it's hard to reconcile. But no matter what, it's an internal conflict of the demon race. Even if we fight until someone's brain comes out, it won't damage the demon race's foundation. But Yun Yang, this human, is the one who triggered the demon race's unprecedented bloodbath. You 2 will definitely regret this. For the last time, the Phoenix Empress sighed and rose into the sky, disappearing without a trace. This time, the Phoenix Empress had truly left. It was not only because she had not worsened her injuries, and her condition was gradually deteriorating. It was also because the Fox clan's reinforcements arranged by the Fox Emperor had already met up here. Further ahead would be the reinforcements of the Fox Empress and the Fox clan's strongest combat force. At this point, the strength brought by the Phoenix Empress was no longer enough to fight against the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor. If they tried their best, they would face the risk of being completely wiped out. The Phoenix Empress understood the situation, but she was still extremely unwilling. Now that things had come to this, she could only choose to retreat. If she were to really go against the Fox clan's strength, she would be provoking the demon race's internal strife in advance. This was a situation that the Phoenix Empress would never be willing to see. Before the Phoenix Empress left, she asked the Fox Emperor, puzzled, "Why?" The Fox Emperor sneered and replied with 2 words. "What do you think?" The Phoenix Emperor left in a cloud of dust. All the Phoenix clan's experts never appeared again. Along the way, the Cat Emperor finally began to understand the process of him being rescued. He was naturally very polite to leader Yin, who had played a decisive role in it. When he heard that this human leader Yin was actually the Fox Emperor's sworn brother, the Cat Emperor suddenly had an idea. Only the two of you are a little weak. Why don't we do it together? Together? The Fox Emperor's eyes widened. The three of us will become sworn brothers. The Cat Emperor was excited about this sudden idea of his, unable to stop himself. Yin Yang and the Fox Emperor were speechless. Brother Yin, in order to save me this time, you've sacrificed countless treasures of heaven and earth, as well as uncountable wealth. Just the saint coins alone are already in the billions, and so many premium spirit jades and ethereal amethysts. The Cat Emperor sighed softly. What's more, my direct descendant is still being taken care of by Brother Yin. How can I ever repay such a great favor? Just in terms of riches alone, not to mention the fact that the Nine Lives Cat clan is poor now. Even in the past when we were at our most prosperous, we might not have been able to. The Cat Emperor laughed self-deprecatingly. Don't be fooled by the number of Saint Lords and experts I have under me. But these 20-odd Saint Lords don't even have a spatial ring. How desolate is this? We can't compensate for Brother Yun's sacrifice at all now. After this, Brother Yun must return to the human side. It'll be even more difficult to meet him. How can I be at ease in such a situation? The only thing I can give is the identity of the Cat clan's king. The Cat Emperor laughed self-deprecatingly. I hope that Brother Yin won't despise this empty title of king. How could Yin Yang despise it? He was more than happy. This trip to the demon race had resulted in him becoming the sworn brother of 2 demon emperors. It was truly worth it. Moreover, the demon clan had already been plunged into misery and suffering because of him. Now there were 2 demon emperors, the Cat Emperor and the Fox Emperor, who were almost determined to fight the current demon emperor. The demon clan's future was almost certain to be torn apart. It would be strange if he was not happy for the sake of the human race. After meeting up with the Fox Empress, the Fox Emperor could finally be at ease. The team of demons returned to the Fox clan's base camp at top speed. 2 demons and 1 human swore an oath to become sworn brothers. The Fox Emperor was the oldest, so he became the eldest brother. The Cat Emperor was a few years younger, so he became the second brother. Yin Yang was the youngest, almost negligible compared to the 2 demon emperors, so he was naturally the third brother. Eldest brother, second brother, third brother. The Fox Empress was genuinely happy about this. From what she could see, the Fox Empress felt that Yin Yang, the human, was the most amiable one, followed by the 3 demonesses, Tunton, Kitty Eat and Kitty Fill. Speaking of which, Yin Yang's 2 sworn brothers could not compare to these 4 banshees in terms of intimacy. Of course, this was only relative. The 2 demons and 1-man ceremony was completed. Countless experts from both clans came forward to toast and congratulate them. However, these experts could not help but feel that it was absurd and unreal. Countless demons above the level of Saint Venerable, and even Saint Lord called out respectfully with a bowl of wine in their hands. Greetings, Third Master. This Third Master was a human, so it was only natural that he felt awkward. However, Yin Yang did not feel awkward at all. Gracefully he gestured. Dispense with the formalities, dispense with the formalities. On the night of the ceremony, in the Fox clan's palace, the 3 freshly minted brothers, no, the 3 demon brothers, no, the 3 brothers, plotted in silence. Eldest brother, second brother. May I ask what plans the 2 of you have for the future? Plans, of course. Cat, what about you? I'm definitely going to rebel. Don't ask me. We're definitely not on the same side. The Cat Emperor drank. The Fox Emperor rolled his eyes. Not on the same side. I participated in the plan to save you. I've protected Yin Yang all the way back. I've set up the demon race's sovereigns to target Long Yutian. I've even invited you, a traitor, to my base camp. Up until now, you still can't tell that I'm going to rebel with you. You say you're not on the same side as me. Do you still want to be recruited? Yin Yang could not help but chuckle. Fox, I'm rebelling because of the blood debt of my 2 billion subjects. Why are you doing this? The Cat Emperor was puzzled. the Phoenix Emperor, the nine-tailed fox, and by E of the feline clan were the demon race's 3 wisest men. All 3 of them had the same wish, which was for the demon race to enjoy eternal peace and stability. Now, however, the nine-tailed fox was saying that he was going to rebel as well. I want to rebel because, if I don't rebel in the future, the people ruled by my fox clan will probably be in an even more miserable state than your cat clan. The fox emperor heaved a deep sigh. Once the news of his son's recovery and complete recovery spread, the fox clan would definitely become the target of public criticism. If he had not been injured previously, he would at most be suspected because of the prophecy. That was all. Even if there were others, the fox emperor was confident that he could mediate. At least, it would still take a long time for him to reach the point where he and the demon emperor would be at odds. Now, however, the nine-tailed jade had suffered a fatal injury that the dragon and phoenix emperors could not save even with their combined efforts. It was such a fatal injury that would have destroyed both his soul and soul, yet he was completely fine in the end. In the blink of an eye, he was alive and kicking again, his cultivation base even increasing by a considerable margin. This was not something that could be explained with just a few words. Only miracles and destiny could explain it. Regarding this point, any high-level demon who knew about their son's past would inevitably think about it. At that time, how could the demon emperor endure it and sit still? There was already a prophecy that this child would become the ruler of the demon race. Now that he was not dead and had turned misfortune into fortune, he even had the support of the massive fox clan. This was obviously the greatest threat. Since the demon emperor could not tolerate it, he had to be eliminated. Although the Phoenix Emperor still had the intention to hold back, and was unwilling to fight to the death with the Fox Emperor, once the Phoenix Emperor knew about his son's situation, his attitude would definitely change immediately. It was true that the Phoenix Emperor valued brotherhood, and was magnanimous in his conduct as a demon. His magnanimity was not a lie. However, the only orthodox demon race that he acknowledged was the dragon race. The dragon clan was the emperor. The Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan resonated with each other. This was the bottom line that the Phoenix Emperor could accept. In the past, the 9 Lives cat killed the second prince of the Demon Emperor. In a sense, not only did it violate the Demon Emperor's taboo, it also went against the Phoenix Emperor's bottom line. After that, the Phoenix Emperor betrayed and schemed against the young cat race because the cat race and the Demon Emperor's bloodline could no longer be reconciled. For the demon race's long-term plan, it was better that the cat race's core forces did not exist. Therefore, if any other demon race threatened the dragon clan's ruling position, the Phoenix Emperor would be the first to object. This was something that the Fox Emperor had always seen clearly. That was why he had moved the Fox clan close to the Blood Soul Mountain a long time ago. Now that the situation had changed, and since it was destined that they would not be able to avoid a confrontation, he might as well seize the initiative in his own hands. From the moment I left the Demon Imperial City, I will no longer accept the Demon Emperor's rule. The Fox Emperor drank a cup of wine and placed the wine cup on the table carefully. He said calmly, "I have a plan. You can see if it is feasible." Chapter 1338. The Cat Emperor's expression turned serious. Yin Yang perked up as well. Throughout this journey, the Fox Emperor had displayed his outstanding intelligence. Since he had made up his mind, it must have been a meticulous plan that had been thought out. Currently, the world knows that the cat has come to me. The Fox clan is destined to be unable to stay out of this. However, it's not the time for us to make a big move at this stage. Therefore, I suggest that our 2 clans form a secret alliance, one in the light and one in the dark, working together and helping each other. After the cat is here, he can openly take his subordinates and leave this place to carry out his own matters, to take revenge, to settle scores, and to cause as much trouble as he can. This is something that can be foreseen, and I believe that no demon will feel that it is abrupt. As for the Fox clan, they can continue to do what they have to do in the light, but in the dark, I will send 10 Saint Lords from my clan to cooperate with your actions. Other than that, all the resources that the Cat clan needs, as well as the necessities for living and cultivation, will be taken care of by the Fox clan. The Fox Emperor said, "This way, we can at least keep a path of retreat. We won't lose everything if we fail." The Cat Emperor pondered and nodded slowly. "If it really comes to a critical moment, and we have to stand up, then we'll turn the world upside down." The Fox Emperor mused and said, "But while creating chaos, we'll try our best to rope in allies and strengthen our overall strength." The Cat Emperor shook his head. "Allies?" The Fox Emperor narrowed his eyes. "Since we've decided to do it, our ultimate goal is undoubtedly to chase Long Yutian off the position of Demon Emperor. If we kill until the world is dyed red, and the Demon Emperor's position is not damaged, then everything will be for naught. Either the Demon Realm changes dynasties, and the Demon Emperor changes, or we don't do it and become a nomad." The Fox Emperor looked at the Cat Emperor. "You should have known this from the start. Rebellion, from the beginning, has always been a king to the winner." The Cat Emperor sighed softly. "Yes, that's right," he said dispiritedly. "Are you done? I want to say something as well. Some things should be made clear in advance. I have no interest in the position of Demon Emperor, be it in the past, present, or future." Yun Yang could not help but look at the Cat Emperor in shock when he heard what he said. He really did not expect the Cat Emperor to say this. This fellow did not seem to be such a shrewd demon. The Fox Emperor's smile deepened. "Brother Cat, I have no interest in the Demon Emperor's position either. When the time comes, we'll leave this position that neither of us is interested in to the younger generation to play with." Junior. Cat Emperor had no juniors now. Among the younger generation of the two great demon clans, there was only Nine-Tailed Jade. Yin Yang was the Fox Emperor's words. The Fox Emperor was the first person Yun Yang had ever met who could say such shameless words in such a righteous manner. The Cat Emperor smiled faintly, his chubby face revealing an unprecedented hatred and sorrow. "I just want revenge now. Lin Emperor Lin is. Emperor and King is. If I can take my revenge, I hope that the Nine Lives Cat clan still exists in the land of the Demon Realm. Other than that, I have nothing else to ask for." Yun Yang said, "It's a pity that I'm with the humans now. My words don't carry much weight. Otherwise, I'd really be able to help my two brothers." The Fox Emperor glanced at him and said, "Even if you can, we can't borrow the human strength. Demons are demons, humans are humans. This is a difference that will never change." Yin Yang sighed. "It's really hard to tell what the future holds." The Fox Emperor guffawed. "We can only take one step at a time. Brother, I hope you won't forget our sworn brotherhood today in the future." He tossed out 7 to 8 spatial rings in his drunken stupor. "You've come to the Demon Realm. I can't let you return empty-handed. These are some gifts that Big Brother has prepared for you. Take a look, are you satisfied?" Yun Yang beamed and kept them. "What are you looking at? Even if Big Brother gives me a handful of soil, it's still full of humanity." He accepted them without even looking at them. He knew that what the Fox Emperor had given him could not be bad. Besides, there were a few spatial rings at once. It meant that the quantity was guaranteed as well. Of course, Yun Yang knew that. The Fox Emperor chuckled. "Little rascal." He then passed over a jade pendant and said, "This is your identity jade pendant. It's the position of the Demon Emperor of the Fox clan. If there's a need, you only need to inject spiritual chi into it, and it can be activated. There will be a phenomenon to prove your identity." Yun Yang took it with a cough. The Cat Emperor passed over a similar jade pendant and said seriously, "Well, third, I've carved a cat's head on it. Don't mix it up when you use it." Yun Yang did not know whether to laugh or cry. These 2 jade pendants, on the side of the demon race, are second only to one demon and above all demons. But when I get to the bound of universe, who am I supposed to show these 2 jade pendants to? If I really took them out, I might have to make a trip to the secret prison of the 3 heavenly palaces. You can't stay here in the demon realm any longer." The Fox Emperor was decisive. A long night is fraught with trouble. With the Phoenix Emperor's power, if he really amasses a powerful force, he might be able to kill you even in the Fox Palace. Tomorrow morning, your second brother and I will personally escort you through the mouth of Crimson Soul and return to the human realm. Alright. Returning to the human realm was what Yin Yang looked forward to the most. This trip to the demon race's side had been a success. Moreover, there were many unexpected gains, huge gains. The original intention of this trip was only to investigate the real purpose of the demon realm's abduction of humans. That was all. Although this mission seemed unimaginable and almost impossible to complete at the time had changed. From what he saw now, it was only an insignificant part of Yin Yang's gains from this trip. Investigating the truth, sealing the soul-devouring tree, stirring up chaos in the demon realm, triggering an endless bloodbath, saving the 9 Lives Cat Emperor's escape, saving the Fox Emperor's crown prince, and building a relationship with the Fox Emperor. Now he had successfully alienated the subordinate relationship between the various demon sovereigns and Long Yutian. And now, he had taken advantage of the situation to establish a massive regime within the demon race that was opposed to the demon sovereigns. Achieving the reality of dividing the demon race, compared to Yin Yang's contribution, it was not worth mentioning at all compared to the rewards he had reaped. Everything else aside, Yin Yang's personal wealth growth was at least a few times more than before he came to the demon realm. Yin Yang lay on his bed at night, salivating as he checked his assets. He was so happy that he covered his mouth with a chuckle. His wealth had multiplied several times. The multiplied several times was not to be underestimated. Yin Yang's original net worth was already at a shocking level. The massive amount of ethereal amethysts, the long-term gains from trading with the General Commerce League, the great wealth he had obtained from the Holy Land of Tian Fa, and the fortune he had gained from the flying demons. It was not an exaggeration to say that Yin Yang's net worth was the richest in the bound of universe. Now that it had multiplied several times, the amount of wealth had long exceeded the scope of the so-called astronomical figure. It could only be described as the number of grains of sand in the Ganges River, or the immeasurable amount of money. If Yin Yang's current wealth was to be described in a more specific manner, it would mean that wherever Yin Yang passed by in the demon realm, the items that Yin Yang had taken away would not grow again for at least 10,000 years. Among them were the Eagle Clan, the Condor Clan, and the other clans that he had paid special attention to. Of course, the most severe would be the Fox Clan. Perhaps it would be difficult for them to grow so many treasures of heaven and earth in 100,000 years. The few spatial rings that the Fox Emperor had given to Yin Yang contained the total value of the treasures of heaven and earth, and the rare metals that Yin Yang had plundered previously. This did not include the gift that the Fox Empress had given Yin Yang out of gratitude, which was not much inferior to what the Fox Emperor had given him. Just these 2 items alone made Yin Yang feel like he had struck gold. Other than these riches, there were other gains that could not be described with mere wealth. The number of demonic cores in Yin Yang's possession had skyrocketed to tens of thousands after this trip. Moreover, all of them were high-level demonic cores, which were at least at the level of Saint Emperor or above. Compared to the situation in the bound of universe, where even a general demonic core was hard to come by, this alone was already an unimaginable and unrecognizable gain. However, what made Yin Yang the happiest was the fact that his cultivation base had become more solid and solid through the training he had gone through during this period of time, where he was constantly hovering between the boundaries of life and death. He had improved by leaps and bounds, and was about to break through to 3rd grade Saint Venerable. As long as he broke through the current bottleneck, he could go one step further, and the opportunity for a breakthrough was just around the corner. On the other hand, the endless divine art, which was unusually difficult to break through in the past, had improved tremendously after the battle in the Holy Land of Tian Fa, due to the fortuitous encounter with the Chi of Karma. He had thought that it would be difficult for him to come across such an opportunity again, but due to the trip to the realm of demonic beasts, he had gained a large amount of Chi of Karma. Currently, he was less than 1/10 of the Chi of Karma required to break through the bottleneck of his current realm. Once the endless divine art broke through to the 7th level, it would be another huge leap. If I count it this way, the number of demons that have died because of me after my arrival should be at least more than 1 million. Yin Yang was a little surprised by this number. However, It was not a lot, but a little. This was because Yun Yang had calculated that the incident with the fox demon that day was a catastrophe for the demon race. The number of casualties caused by the demon race's internal strife was definitely not limited to this. If he counted all of them, he should be able to break through. The chi of karma that I've obtained is not as expected. It should be because there are many demons with ulterior motives in this incident, causing the chi of karma to be diverted. Yin Yang muttered to himself. These that were not counted as his own were naturally not because of his murderous plots. They were probably just using this as an excuse. There were those who had enmity with each other, those who disliked each other, those who wanted to take the opportunity to expand their territory, those who had ambitions and evil intentions, and so on. Now that I've been exposed in the demon race, only death awaits me if I continue to stay here. The Phoenix Sovereign is determined to kill me. I can only be a thief for 1,000 days. How can I guard against a thief for 1,000 days? The earlier I leave, the better. Thinking of this, Yun Yang could not help but be thankful that he had already returned to the Fox clan's base camp and was not far from the Blood Soul Mountain. Although he still felt a prickling sensation on his back, his safety was more or less guaranteed. As long as he passed through the Blood Soul Mountain, the Phoenix Sovereign would no longer be a threat. Speaking of which, this Phoenix Sovereign is really scary. I wonder what relationship he has with Mr. Nian. They actually have the same face. Even their auras are similar. Yun Yang pondered over this, but he could only leave this mystery for the next time. Also, Feng Sheng is wine. Monkey Sovereign, there must be some other reason behind this. There are so many unsolved mysteries in this world. How many people can see through all of them? After thinking for a while, Yun Yang stopped thinking about it and felt relieved. He counted his gains and went to sleep to recuperate. Early the next morning, the Fox Emperor and the Cat Sovereign woke Yun Yang up early in the morning. Let's go now. A long night is fraught with dreams. All right, let's do that. The three of them walked out of the palace together. There was a long row of people standing outside. Further away, there were all the experts of the Cat clan, sending them off in a neat formation. Those who were sending them off were basically those who were on good terms with Yun Yang. As Yun Yang's gaze swept across them, he could not help but feel surprised. He had not counted in detail how many friends he had made on this trip to the Demon Clan. The Fox Empress and the Fox Crown Prince, the nine-tailed Jade Crown Prince, stood at the front. Their gazes towards Yun Yang were filled with reluctance, especially the Fox Crown Prince, who did not bother to hide his childlike admiration. The three sisters, Tunton and Cat Sovereign, stood closer to the front as well. Their gazes towards Yun Yang were filled with gratitude. You may have your own motives, but you've helped us now. You've helped us save our king, the man of us three sisters. We'll remember your kindness no matter what. Yun Yang bade them farewell one by one, but he was still not done even after an hour. The Fox Emperor could not help but say, "It's not like we can't meet again. Don't waste any more time. There's plenty of time in the future. Let's go, let's go." Before his words echoed in the air, he had already grabbed Yun Yang and soared into the sky. The Cat Emperor chuckled and followed. Behind him, with the Fox Empress in the lead, all the experts of the Demon Clan present bowed deeply in respect. The Fox Crown Prince, the nine-tailed Jade Crown Prince, knelt on the ground. This nephew is sending second uncle off, high up in the sky. The Fox Emperor did not walk very quickly. Instead, he walked slowly alongside Yun Yang and the Cat Sovereign. The Fox Emperor was on the left while the Cat Sovereign was on the right, protecting Yun Yang in the middle. The closer it was to the final moment, the more they could not afford to be careless. With the Fox Emperor and Cat Sovereign's protection, it was almost impossible for them to kill Yun Yang, even if the Phoenix Emperor and the Demon Emperor came personally. "Brother, after this farewell, we shall meet again in the distant future." The Fox Emperor smiled faintly. The human world will always be the human world. Both of us will never be able to cross it. Over there, you'll have to rely on your own efforts in the future. This young brother understands. If there comes a day in the future when the Cat Sovereign and I ultimately fail, perhaps we'll think of a way to send your nephew and some others over to your side. The Fox Emperor pondered for a long time. hesitating for a long time before he finally said this. The cat sovereign was obviously not surprised by his words. He only chuckled humorlessly. It was obvious that he had thought of this as well, but his relationship was not as close as the Fox Emperor and Yun Yang's, so he was too embarrassed to speak up. Although the Fox Emperor and the Cat Sovereign had already made up their minds regarding this matter, they did not have the slightest bit of confidence. The disparity in their abilities was too great. Brother-in-law is giving birth to a second child. Daughter-in-law is so busy that she doesn't even cook for me anymore. How lawless. I'll beat her up when this is over. GT. Chapter 1339. Yin Yang was silent for a moment before he said, I think that it's better for both of you elder brothers to earn your fortune quietly now. Accumulate your capabilities first. Forgive my bluntness, but the foundation of the Cat and Fox clan is still far from enough. At least compared to the Dragon and Phoenix clans, the difference is huge. The war is nothing more than a battle of manpower, resources, and wealth. We don't have all three. How can we win? The Fox Emperor chuckled bitterly. How can we not know this? It's just that the demon race isn't on our side now. It's impossible to change according to our will. With the changes now, the Demon Emperor and Phoenix Sovereign won't give us any buffer time and cause more trouble. Once Yuer's condition is exposed, the war will erupt simultaneously. There won't be any accidents. We won't have any time to prepare. Yuer's recovery isn't a secret among the Fox clan's higher-ups. Demons have too many mouths. We won't be able to hide it for long. Time can be fought for. Everything depends on one's own effort. How can a man deny himself without trying? According to my two brothers, I'm just a supreme saint cultivator, so I should stay in the human realm. Recklessly invading the realm of demonic beasts is just a matter of seeking death. How could this happen? Yin Yang was nonchalant. Of course it's not easy to win the war, but it's not that difficult to simply delay time. It's still possible for the Fox clan to issue a gag order and delay the time of exposure. The Fox Emperor was silent for a moment before he said, I'll think about it when I come back. Yin Yang said, If both of you can delay time until the great war between the demon race and the humans, our chances will be higher. The Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor exchanged a bitter smile. It's impossible. We're demons after all. We'll never do such a betrayal. Yin Yang said calmly, I didn't ask you to join the human race. I'm only talking about the opportunity to win. That's all. Normally, you won't have any chance at all. However, that's the only time you can defeat the Demon Emperor and Phoenix Sovereign. My focus is that the demon race and the humans might be able to coexist peacefully. However, the current Demon Emperor, as well as the Dragon and Phoenix Sovereigns of the past, can only exterminate and enslave the human race and occupy the bound of universe. That's why they're so determined, and there's no room for negotiation. If the demon race's policies can be changed, the two races might be able to coexist peacefully. You must know that if there is only the demon race in this world, it will inevitably go extinct due to endless reproduction. But if there is only the human race, the ending may not be the same. Only by giving each other enough pressure can both parties develop together, while maintaining a certain degree of restraint. The Cat Emperor was astonished. Humans and demons have been enemies since ancient times. Is it really possible for them to coexist peacefully? Isn't that just a pipe dream? Yin Yang smiled. As long as the demon race never eats humans again, with this premise as a turning point, the future will not be in vain. Everything is possible. Hearing Yin Yang's words, the two emperors fell into deep thought. Yin Yang's words were simple and unpretentious. Naturally, the two monarchs could tell that Yin Yang's suggestion was sincere. The future of the demonic race was also something that the Fox Emperor had been thinking about. Yuer's physique is superb. After this incident, he'll be even better. His future is limitless, surpassing the current Demon Emperor and even the previous generations of the demonic race's grandmasters. It's only a matter of time. Yin Yang said, Yuer's previous injuries are severe, but the few wisps of aura that I've given him won't be completely used up in a short period of healing. He has such a great future ahead of him. If he's too eager for quick success, it'll be a pity. The Fox Emperor was deep in thought, his eyes suddenly glowing. As they spoke, the Crimson Soul's Pass was already in sight. Looking at the mountain pass that he had not seen for a long time, Yin Yang stopped the topic. We're here. Thank you for your protection, elder brothers. Take care. We brothers will meet again. Until we meet again. Take care, brother. Until we meet again. Oh, third. When we return to your side, remember to help me take care of my descendants. You're their elder through and through. The Cat Emperor laughed. Go. Yin Yang chuckled awkwardly and flew towards the mountain pass, accompanied by the two demon emperors. However, just as he was about to reach the mountain pass, Yin Yang stopped abruptly. He was dumbstruck. Something seemed wrong. What's wrong? The Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor were surprised by Yin Yang's strange behavior. What's wrong? Yin Yang pointed at his own face, wanting to cry. Elder brothers, look at me now. How? How do I go back? Can I still go back? Whether it was the Fox Emperor, the Cat Emperor, or Yin Yang himself, they had all overlooked a very serious and unavoidable problem. Yin Yang was still in the form of a fox, with a fox's head and a human's body. The Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor were stunned when they heard Yin Yang's question, but they immediately understood and guffawed overjoyed. If Yin Yang had not mentioned the problem, the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor would not have cared at all. Everywhere they looked, there were demons everywhere. What was there to be surprised about? Therefore, they did not take the solidification of their body image to heart. Although the Cat Emperor was sworn brothers with Yin Yang, he had never seen Yin Yang's original appearance. He had even gradually assumed that Yin Yang's fox appearance was Yin Yang's original appearance. As for the negative effect of not being able to absorb spiritual chi from heaven and earth, it would not cause too much of an impact. As long as he cultivated with the maximum amount of heaven and earth resources, he could make up for the lack of spiritual essence. The difficulty of absorbing spiritual chi alone was even less of an issue for Yin Yang. With Emi and his deific consciousness space, Yin Yang's cultivation base would not fall. He would still advance by leaps and bounds like before. However, the problem of solidifying his image was a huge problem. If he were to return with a fox's head, he would only be surrounded and attacked. Ibuyu alone would not be able to get past Fan Yunbang and his brothers. You're still laughing. Looking at the two heartless demon emperors, Yin Yang was exasperated. This was not a trivial problem. If it was not handled properly, he would lose his life. Yet they were still laughing. Regarding this, both of us have no way to deal with it. The Fox Emperor was almost tearing up from his laughter. That's a heaven-sealing formation, activated by 99 Saint Emperors. How can we break it with just the two of us? Just tell me how to break it. I want a solution now. Stop laughing. Yin Yang's face was scrunched up like an eggplant. I'm not laughing. However, to break this seal, there are only two methods that I know of. One is to use one's own cultivation base to wash away the seal. With the accumulation of time and effort, the seal can be broken bit by bit. After 3,000 to 5,000 years, it can be broken. The second method is to break the seal instantly. If one's own cultivation base is strong enough to break through the joint effort of 99 Saint Emperors, it can definitely be broken, said the Fox Emperor. Yin Yang flashed a smile that was uglier than a crying face. Only these two methods? You might as well not tell me. I know another method that's more effective and immediate, said the Cat Emperor, trying to hold back his laughter. What method? Tell me quickly. Yin Yang perked up. The power of the heaven-sealing seal is too strong. Even the two of us can't do anything about it. However, as long as you can find an expert who has reached the high level of a saint, all the seals will be useless against a saint. They can be broken with a flick of a finger. The Cat Emperor stifled his laughter. Yin Yang was speechless for a long while. At Yin Yang's current level of cultivation base, the manifestation powers of wind and cloud transformation were not entirely useless, but they were not essential. As long as he did not go to the realm of demons, where he was surrounded by enemies, Yin Yang would basically be able to conquer them. After all, the chances of encountering a Saint Emperor when he was out in the world were minuscule. As for the others, even if it was a 4th-level pinnacle Saint Venerate, Yin Yang was confident that he could win, or at least not be at a disadvantage. However, that was under the condition that he was in his true form. Now that he had a fox's head, as long as he went to the bound of universe, he would be attacked by everyone. Yin Yang's cultivation base was not low either. It would be strange if he did not attract the attention of a human Saint Emperor. Behind him, there was the Demon Emperor and Phoenix Emperor sharpening their swords, eyeing him menacingly. There was also a sea of people ahead, killing all the humans. What could Yin Yang do? Wasn't this a dead end? Wasn't this a dead end? A Saint Emperor? And a high-level one at that. Was it that easy to find one? You can only rely on your own hard work in this matter. The Fox Emperor looked serious, but his voice sounded like he was taking pleasure in Yin Yang's misfortune. Brother, you can do it. As a human, you can do so well in the demon realm, turning the world upside down and painting the map of the demonic spirit. What's more, you're back in your own territory. He patted Yin Yang's shoulder. Brother, you can do it. Yin Yang stared at him with wide eyes. The Cat Emperor's shoulders were shaking from laughter as well, but he finally gave a pertinent suggestion. If you really can't do it, be a masked man for a few thousand years. This is also an effective solution. Yin Yang sighed at the sky. Now that things had come to this, there was really no other way. Yin Yang was aggrieved. I'm the most handsome man in the bound of universe's history. How can I live with a mask on my face from now on? What kind of an excuse is this? Listening to him, the two demon emperors chuckled. Brother, let me give you a piece of advice. The Cat Emperor patted Yin Yang's shoulder. In this world, men are more narcissistic than women. Those women, ugly or not in good shape, actually know themselves very well. Only those who are beautiful and confident will do things to please men. Ugly ones will never do so. However, every man, no matter how ugly he looks in his heart, he still thinks that he's quite a handsome man. If any beauty takes a second look at him, he'll think that she's taken a liking to him and has fallen in love with him. This has nothing to do with race. It's a common problem for men. He patted Yin Yang's shoulder. We're here. Go home quickly. Yin Yang looked at him aggrieved. Are you trying to comfort me? Yin Yang discussed it with Emmy, holding on to his last hope. Then he made a head cover and a mask. After some thought, he made an additional veil just to be safe. However, the veil covered the entire head. Emmy was not omnipotent. At the very least, it was powerless in this matter, and could only sigh helplessly. The bloody soul mouth. Buyu and the rest looked at the three experts who had come together, their expressions darkening, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. The Fox Emperor was an old acquaintance, everyone knew him. However, the two demons who had come with the Fox Emperor, the cat-headed demon, who stood beside the Fox Emperor, looked unfamiliar. It seemed like it had been a long time since they had heard of the existence of cat experts in the demon clan. The other one had his head covered. What kind of expert was this? Why could they not feel a single trace of chi from him? However, a martial artist's instinct told them that the masked demon's combat power might not be as strong as the other two. But he was not someone to be trifled with. The three experts had come together. Was the demon clan going to attack the bloody soul mouth by force today? Buyu sent out a warning subconsciously. Brother Fox, what brings you here today? Buyu was on high alert, not daring to be careless. His inner energy was channeled to the maximum, ready for battle. Don't be so hostile. I came here today with good intentions. Didn't I just send your people back to you? The Fox Emperor rolled his eyes. What are you trying to do with that attitude of yours? Are you going to bite the hand that feeds you? My people, send them back. Buyu came to a sudden realization. Yin Yang? Senior Yin Yang greeted from behind the mask. It's really you. Yin Yang had been gone for more than half a year. Buyu had long given up hope that he could return alive, but he did not expect him to really come back today. The joy was no small matter. Then he was puzzled. You're Yin Yang. Why are you covering your head? The Fox Emperor guffawed upon hearing him. Yin Yang sighed. This junior met with a great accident during this trip. The Phoenix Emperor used the heaven sealing formation to seal off my spiritual chi and manifestation. The heaven sealing formation? Buyu and the others were shocked. As the top experts of the bound of universe, how could they not know about the heaven sealing formation, the demon clan's top formation? But Yin Yang was only a little fellow with some ability. What did he do to make the Phoenix Emperor use the heaven sealing formation? This matter sounded absurd no matter how one listened to it. It couldn't be trusted at all. Besides, the Phoenix Emperor activated the heaven sealing formation and actually failed to capture him? No matter how self-justifying it was still a fantasy and unbelievable. It's a long story. Yin Yang sighed. Why don't we talk inside? Come, let's go in together. The Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor would not let go of such a great opportunity to watch the show. Accompanied by the others, they were about to enter the human cave when they heard a sigh from the sky behind them. Yin Yang, I'll let you go this time. We'll meet again in the future. The voice was filled with regret and indignation, as well as helplessness from watching something happen, but being powerless to stop it. The voice belonged to the Phoenix Emperor. Yin Yang turned back to look and saw the Phoenix Emperor standing thousands of feet above him in the sky, looking in his direction with a complicated expression. On the human side, a towering aura rose abruptly as an old voice boomed. Brother Phoenix, are you here to fight? The Phoenix Emperor snorted coldly and looked at the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor with a complicated gaze. He said faintly, brothers, take care and be careful. Humans and demons are different, don't make mistakes. The Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor snorted in unison, ignoring him and walking towards the human cave. The Phoenix Emperor let out a long howl and soared into the sky, turning into a ball of flame on the horizon as it sped away. As for the human side, the towering aura that had suddenly appeared gradually disappeared as well. In the cave, looking at Yin Yang, who had removed his mask and revealed a fox's head with a speechless expression, the human experts were speechless as well. Chapter 1340. You're Yin Yang? You're really Yin Yang? Ibuyu looked conflicted. Yin Yang's outstanding appearance had left a deep impression on everyone, a good one at that. He was a handsome young master, a handsome youth in this chaotic world. Now he had returned as a fox. Looking at him again, the feeling was not right no matter how one looked at it. It was extremely awkward. Even Ibuyu, a Saint Monarch powerhouse who was experienced and knowledgeable, and had an extremely calm temperament, was on the verge of bursting out from his mouth. It was actually easy to prove his identity. Even if his appearance was different, Yin Yang's soul wave was still the same. This could not be faked. Moreover, the divine sense imprint that the few lords had left on him, before he left, was even more irrefutable evidence that could not be faked. After confirming it, the 9 human experts were speechless. When he left, he was a rare, handsome youth, a living human. When he returned, he had turned into a fox, one that could not be changed back even after many years. This matter, it had to be said that amidst the absurdity, there was an urge to burst out laughing. Looking at Yin Yang's lifeless gaze, the few old men could not help but want to guffaw. Ibuyu shook his head and smacked his lips. I say, young brother Yin, you don't have a wife in your house yet, do you? Yin Yang was stunned. What do you mean, senior? The other human experts winked at him. Going to bed with you like this. Even if your wife is brave enough to not be frightened, it's inevitable that she'll be kicked off the bed, isn't it? Yin Yang understood at once, feeling even more aggrieved and frustrated. I don't have a wife yet, but I've already decided on one. This is one aspect. He would have been struck by lightning if he touched her, but now it was even better. With this fox's head, he probably wouldn't even be allowed to hug her. Also, I don't have a family yet. But I'm still the leader of a great sect. If I were to lecture with a fox's head, the image would be too beautiful to even imagine. No matter how aggrieved and frustrated Yin Yang was, he was safe now. This was an undeniable fact. The Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor could finally relax. After exchanging a few more pleasantries, they took their leave. And it was only at this moment that Ibuyu and the others realized that this cat race expert, that they had never seen before, was actually the legendary 9 Lives cat. Everyone could not help but be stunned. On one hand, he was puzzled. Wasn't the 9 Lives cat imprisoned by the demonic emperor? Why was it out? Could it be that the demon sovereign had shown mercy and pardoned the world? Ibuyu and the others were confident that they would be able to defeat the Fox Emperor if they joined forces. However, they would not be able to kill it. Even if there was another Cat Emperor, whose strength was similar to the Fox Emperor's, the two sides would not lose their balance and would still be in a similar position. However, they did not know that the cat demon in front of them was the legendary Nine Lives cat. If it suddenly attacked them and joined forces with the Fox Emperor, even if Ibuyu and the others did not suffer a great loss, they were bound to suffer some losses. It was even possible that one or two of them would die here. However, before everyone could recover from the shock, the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor's parting words shocked everyone once again. Yin Yang is now our sworn brother, the Fox Emperor said threateningly. If anything happens to him in the human world, both of us won't agree to it. Ibuyu and the others broke out in a cold sweat. When they looked at Yin Yang again, their gazes were even more confused. What did you do in the demon realm? Forget about how you're no longer your original self. How did you even become sworn brothers with two demonic emperors? The Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor had really left. After confirming that the two demonic emperors had truly left, Ibuyu, Shi Qingshan, Zhu Ziyan, and Boss Wu surrounded Yin Yang. Kid, tell us quickly. What did you do in the demon realm? Yin Yang coughed and said innocently, Later, you'd better put on your mask first. Old Wu's second did not wait for Yin Yang to finish, and said with disdain, This old man's hands are itching to look at you with that fox's head. I can't even control my killing intent. Yin Yang was speechless. Is it my fault? I don't want to be in this state either. However, this was the reality. Yin Yang could only put on his mask and not recognize people by their faces. Speaking of which, this junior's original intention in going to the demon realm this time was a mission from the Sacred Heart Palace. The demon realm has been using some loopholes to send flying demons into the bound of universe to abduct humans for so many years. What's the reason behind this? Is that so? Did you find out? Ibuyu's expression turned serious. I found out. Yin Yang did not keep them in suspense, telling them about the demonic clan's underground prisons and the function of the soul-devouring tree. All of them were experienced and knowledgeable, so they understood the severity of the matter at once. Their expressions changed drastically, and they all wore expressions of lingering fear. The demon realm actually has such a trick up their sleeves. No wonder the attack on the Blood Soul Mountain has been so intense all these years. That was close, that was really close. Everyone sucked in a cold breath, looking at Yin Yang with an unprecedentedly serious expression. It was all thanks to this kid who had infiltrated the demon realm without a care for his life and returned with this important news. Otherwise, when the demon realm was ready and the continent's experts were guarding against the Blood Soul Mountain, a huge gap would suddenly appear in the mainland or the holy land of divine punishment. By the time they could return to help, the demon realm's vanguard would probably be covered in the bound of universe. Very well. I will report this matter to the palace lord immediately and send men of sacrifice to infiltrate the demon realm. This soul-devouring tree must be completely destroyed and completely eradicated. Ibuyu's expression was solemn, and he was about to take action immediately. Regarding the soul-devouring tree, I have already dealt with a lot of things. Yin Yang smiled and said casually. Then, he explained the way he had handled the situation. At the end, he said, Although we did not eliminate the root of the problem, and the attack did not cover all the human prisons, the demon race will not be able to launch an attack within the next 1,000 years. This buffer period is enough for us to plan and deploy carefully. You have already started to destroy it. That's great, that's great. Boss Wu slapped his thigh, beaming with joy amidst his shock. His other hand, which was like a bear's paw, slapped Yin Yang's shoulder with a loud smack. You're really something, kid. When the others heard this, they were also relieved. Although it was not a complete success, it was already a pleasant surprise to be able to gain a buffer of 1,000 years. It was like a pie falling from the sky, unbelievable and full of surprises. Good lad. You've done a great deed this time. Ibuyu slapped Yin Yang's shoulder as well. As the two slaps landed consecutively, half of Yin Yang's body was numb. His face was pale, and he was on the verge of tears. All of you can be happy, but can you not slap my shoulder so hard? My shoulders are small and narrow, I can't take a slap. What else? What happened next? Old Wu's second asked excitedly, already in the mode of listening to the story. He probed with a knowing look to boost the narrator's excitement. Then I was found out about destroying the soul-devouring tree. The demon emperor issued a bounty. Yin Yang spoke slowly. Since I was a shape-shifting fox and had the fox emperor's token, I played along with it. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant, but it's a little unfair. It's just that the fox emperor was defeated, it doesn't matter. Ha 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 ha. The group of old fellows were so happy that they could not even see each other. Then, the wisest phoenix emperor in the realm of demonic beasts launched a targeted strategy against me, gradually compressing my living space. Gradually I had nowhere to hide. Coincidentally, I found the clue of the Nine Lives Cat's remnant bloodline, so I contacted the Nine Lives Cat's old subordinates and worked with them. And so. As Yun Yang spoke, he talked about killing the 12 dragon guards, successfully rescuing the feline emperor, being suppressed by the heaven-sealing formation once he left the demonic soul prison, and finally escaping with the fox emperor and the feline emperor. No one was surprised anymore. It was not that they were not surprised. It had turned into utter shock. They looked into Yin Yang's eyes as if they were looking at a monster. If that was the case, this child's trip was not as simple as just accomplishing something. It was totally worth it. Saving the world. This is an act of saving the world. Ibuyu's face was filled with indescribable shock. He did not expect Yun Yang to be able to accomplish such an earth-shattering feat. Not only did he destroy the soul-devouring tree and greatly curb the demonic clan's plan to invade the continent, he had also planted many spies within the demonic clan to drive a wedge between the demon emperor and the other demonic sovereigns. He had even instigated 2 demonic sovereigns to rebel. There was a lot of space that could be used in all of the above. What a genius! Zhu Ziyan looked at Yin Yang with a strange glint in his eyes. Sinister. What an extremely sinister genius. Yin Yang was exasperated. Are you complimenting me? In spite of this, everyone present was dumbstruck after listening to Yin Yang's feat. This child had infiltrated deep into the demonic clan alone. First, he had destroyed the soul-devouring tree, the key to the demonic clan's conspiracy to protect the humans in the underground prison. Then, he had deceived many demonic sovereigns and created a chain of destruction. When he was discovered, he had continued to strive to become stronger despite being hunted down and killed millions of demons. He had even contacted the remnants of the Nine Lives Cat clan to kill the 12 dragon guards, break the demonic prison, and rescue the Nine Lives Cat clan. Now, he had even formed an alliance with the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor, essentially driving a wedge between the demonic clan and the demon race. Not to mention the future, just this child alone had caused the deaths of more than 10 Saint Lords in the demonic clan. This was a real weakening. Now the human had returned safe and sound, but the demonic clan was in a state of turmoil. It could be stormy and chaotic at any time. It was this human child who had stirred up trouble everywhere. Even when the wisest of the demonic clan, several experts, and the Phoenix Emperor had personally led a team to kill him, they could not succeed. Not only could they not succeed, but they had also become sworn brothers with the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor, the 2 supreme sovereigns of the demonic clan. This was practically a new legend, a living myth. No, even an illustration book would not dare to write like this. It was too unbelievable. However, it had really happened to the kid in front of them. Everyone could only call him a monster, but they couldn't do anything about it. Other than calling him a demon, there was nothing else they could say. I'll report this to the East Celestial Palace later, and ask for a reward for you. Ibuyu looked at Yin Yang with admiration. Sect leader Yun's remarkable contribution to the demonic clan is worth remembering in the bound of universe, leaving your name in the annals of history and being eulogized for eternity. This is a great victory. It's a great foundation. Zhu Ziyan was also full of emotion. Yin Yang was shocked. Wait, it's fine if everyone knows about this. There's no need to publicize it. It's just a small matter of stirring up trouble and stirring up trouble. It's nothing. Don't do this, I'm thin-skinned. I'll be very embarrassed. What? This is a small matter? Embarrassed? Ibuyu said. I know you have your reservations, but other than the matter of becoming sworn brothers with the Demon Emperor, everything else is a model for the Bound of Universe to learn from. Right now, the Bound of Universe really needed a hero. You've appeared at the right time. With this achievement, it's not wrong to be arrogant and proud. There's no need to be embarrassed. Yin Yang was speechless. Senior, there's a big prerequisite to be a hero. You need to look like someone who's not outstanding, but still passable. But I'm going out with a fox's head. How do I look like a model? I'll be lucky if I don't get beaten to death by the crowd. This is really unrealistic. There's no room for it at all. Everyone laughed in unison again. The room was filled with joy from the bottom of their hearts. It was because of Yin Yang's current situation and the legend he had created. This was the long-cherished wish that everyone wanted to achieve but could not. But Yin Yang had achieved it in one day. Since you left, we've done a lot of investigation on you and your residence of 9 Supremes. After you left, there was no news at all. We're used to seeing death and death. Although it's a pity, we've gradually forgotten about it. However, your residence of 9 Supremes has been developing steadily and is showing signs of prosperity. Many of your disciples have entered the vision of the higher-ups. Ibuyu began to tell Yun Yang about the changes in the continent during this period of time, most of which were related to Yun Yang. Apparently, it was because of Yun Yang's sudden arrival that day. Although he had won everyone's favor, there was still a little bit of doubt in their hearts. Hence, they immediately looked for someone to inquire about everything related to Yun Yang and Yun Yang. Otherwise, with everyone's vow to guard the Bloody Soul Mountain, how could Yun Yang, a newly risen Celestial Luck Banner sect, gain their concern? Those few little fellows are indeed talented, and their temperament is even better. Yun Yang had always been full of praises for his disciples, and his expression was even more contented. There was no hint of self-praise on his face, and he spoke freely and confidently. Another important piece of information that we know, or perhaps it's worth our attention, is that there's a new rising organization in the continent. It rose all the way from the Northern Wilderness Demonic Palace, directly stepping over the lower-class Celestial Luck Banner, and ascending to the middle-class first seat. It's a pity that it didn't succeed when it tried to break through to the upper class. But it was only a narrow defeat. Currently, the Northern Wilderness Demonic Palace is in a state of panic, and this sect has been regarded as a top priority by the higher-ups there. It's as important as your residence of 9 Supremes here. Ibuyu said. Oh, Senior, do you know what sect it is, what's its name, what's its background and how powerful it is? In terms of battle results, it's much more impressive than my residence of 9 Supremes. Yin Yang asked curiously. As he asked, the expressions on the faces of the 9 peerless experts turned strange. They looked at Yin Yang from top to bottom with a strange expression. What's wrong? Yin Yang was puzzled. Ibuyu wore a strange smile and said faintly, This sect is called the Residence of 9 Supremes. I opened the author zone just now, but I couldn't open it. It showed 404. I was shocked. Fortunately, I opened it after 4 or 5 attempts. Chapter 1341. Yun Yang was dumbfounded when he heard it. Residence of the 9th Supremacy? What was this? The name of a sect repeated the same 3 words as his own. The leader is said to be a woman. Ibuyu continued. Yun Yang was still dumbfounded. Not only is the leader a woman, but the vice leader is also a woman. Boss Wu snorted, looking at Yun Yang with a strange gaze. At this moment, the few old men hated this fellow. Why did he have to turn into a fox? If he still had his original appearance, his expression would be so colorful. He had really missed out on a great show. It was truly a regret of his life. Yun Yang's throat gurgled as he swallowed, his eyes staring blankly as he said, The leader's surname is Ji. Zhu Ziyan rolled his eyes. The vice leader's surname is Shangguan. Shi Qingshan rolled his eyes as well. Yun Yang coughed and touched his foxy face and neck subconsciously. To a married man, his face did not belong to him to a large extent. When it came to Yun Yang, his neck had to be included as well. If things were not so coincidental, these two women with the surnames Ji and Shengguan were very likely to be them. If he went over with this face, his neck would definitely be their first target. How could they lose their most cherished item, and have such a head on top of it? Chopping it off would be the right thing to do. Su Yinshui also rolled his eyes and said, "It is said that the leader of the residents of the Ninth Supremacy is as beautiful as the moon." Unsurprisingly, Fan Yunbang followed suit and rolled his eyes. There's also the deputy leader of the residents of Ninth Supremes. She's also a peerless beauty. Yuan Shijun rolled his eyes as if he was performing a crosstalk and continued. But the most popular one is still what sect leader Ji said. Yun Yang could not help but ask, "What did she say? What did she say?" All 9 of them said in unison, "Not telling you." If Yun Yang had his original appearance, his pretty face would have long turned black. However, even with a mask, his eyes were still spitting fire. These few old fellows were too annoying. They were too much. "What did he say?" Yun Yang asked eagerly. Second brother Wu sighed and said sympathetically, "Brother, whatever they say is fine. It definitely has nothing to do with your current fox head." Yun Yang sucked in a deep breath, his fists clenched. If it were not for the fact that he could not defeat them, Yun Yang swore that he would turn these 9 old fellows into a pile of pig heads. Old pig head. This is really too vile. I've never seen someone like this before. You were just saying that I'm a great hero of the Xianhuang world. Is there such a thing as making things difficult for a hero? Really? It was He Buyu who tried to smooth things over, saying, "What's wrong with you telling Yun Yang what they said? Let me do it. Let the 2 girls do it." Yun Yang stared at it with wide eyes. He Buyu scratched his head and said, "What did they say again? When people get old, their brains become dull. How could they forget something that they could still remember a moment ago? Sigh, time and tide wait for no man." Then, the other 8 old men burst into heartless laughter. These old fellows were experienced with age. Once they heard the names of the 2 sects, they knew that the 2 ladies must be related to Yun Yang. Right now it was a game of cat and mouse, thoroughly enjoying themselves. Sigh. There hasn't been anyone to entertain us for so many years. Now that we finally have one, we have to cherish it and enjoy ourselves. Yun Yang was exasperated layer upon layer, almost to the point that his liver was swollen. Alright, the 2 girls are right. Seeing that Yun Yang was really anxious, He Buyu finally said it without hesitation. There must be another residence of 9 Supremes in this world. Yun Yang stared blankly. That's all. That's all. Isn't this enough? Isn't this enough to provoke one's imagination and thought-provoking? There are already too many people who have had their imaginations run wild because of this. Yun Yang rolled his eyes and stood up with a sigh. Say, I'm a young man at the prime of my life. Why am I teasing you bunch of old men? I'm leaving. After saying that, he really walked out of the room, not stopping even half a step. The 9 old fellows were stunned. Hey, are you really leaving just like that? If I don't walk like this, am I supposed to crawl? Yun Yang rolled his eyes and actually walked out of the cave just like that. The 9 old fellows thought that this child was throwing a tantrum, so they did not say anything to stop him, thinking that he would definitely come back later. However, they were surprised to find that this fellow had actually flown all the way down through their deific consciousness and was almost at the foot of the Bloody Soul Mountain. He's really gone? Isn't he just putting on a show? He's really gone. The 9 old fellows looked at each other. After a long time, they felt that Yun Yang had really gone far away, and they were all dumbfounded. How could he really leave? This was not how the script was written. He Buyu stomped his feet and scolded. I told you all to be careful when you're joking, but you didn't listen. Look at him now, he's angry. How many years has it been since someone finally came to tease me? But he ran away because of you all. You bunch of shameless old fellows. He Buyu's tone was heavy. The young man and lady haven't seen each other for such a long time, and they're just missing each other to the bone. Look at you all. This is too much. This is too much. The other old fellows also felt that they had gone overboard with their jokes. Each of them hung their heads and looked distressed. What should we do? How should we fix this? Yun Yang is really not bad. Why couldn't he hold it in just now? He's already gone. What's the use of saying this now? Boss Wu was very displeased. Pay attention in the future. When we meet again, think of a way to make it up to him. You all. Second brother Wu shook his head and sighed. The few old fellows looked even more ashamed as they sighed continuously. Yun Yang has made a great contribution to mankind. And now that he's returned with a strange condition, you all don't even think of a way to deal with him. But, He rolled his eyes and snorted. The other old fellows were also ashamed, lowering their heads in silence as they grumbled inwardly. Isn't it all because of you, old fellow? What right do you have to talk about us? Now that they thought about it, their words and actions just now were indeed a little overboard. They had to make it up to this child next time. What they did not know, however, was that they were at the pinnacle of the human world, and were wealthy. But even if they added up all of their assets, it would only be 1/100th of Yun Yang's. At the foot of the mountain, Yun Yang covered his face and walked quickly on the road, his form almost turning into a wisp of smoke as he sped along. As he walked, he muttered in his heart, "Humph, these old fellows. I must teach them a lesson when the time comes. How dare they flaunt their seniority in front of me?" This young master was thinking that they've worked hard and performed meritorious service guarding the human and demon border for many years. But now, when we meet next time, I'll settle this score properly. Is this young master's joke that funny? Lord Supreme Cloud's thoughts ran wild as he walked, and he finally felt that his mind was opening up, feeling pleased with himself. With Yin Yang's magnanimity, he did not take the jokes of these old fellows to heart. What was the difference between wearing a fox's head and a pretty boy's face? Would Ji Lingxi, whom he had not seen for a long time, allow him to hug her? Or would Shangguan Lingxiu, who had returned, allow him to hug her? Even if he knew that this fox's head was Yun Yang, it was impossible for him to do so. Moreover, they were hundreds of thousands of miles away, and who knew how many more unforeseen events lay ahead? Sigh. My life. Thinking of this, he could not help sighing. When we met often, I was struck by lightning just by hugging her. Now that my ability is more or less the same, I've turned into this fox again. Is it fate, or is it the heavens toying with me? The melancholy in Lord Supreme Cloud's heart at this moment was indescribable. He wanted to say it, but he couldn't. As he walked, he suddenly felt his heart skip a beat. It was a warning. Immediately, a domineering aura came charging at him without warning. A voice shouted at the same time, "Dodge!" In the blink of an eye, Yin Yang felt a strong sense of danger coming at him. Without hesitation, he tilted his body to the left and leaped hundreds of feet away. Before he even landed on the ground, he forcefully circulated his mystical skill and darted 1,000 feet to the right where he had been. It was equivalent to going back and forth, and he had deviated hundreds of feet from his original position. Boom! Just as he dodged to the left, an overwhelming force that could destroy heaven and earth came crashing down, following him like a shadow. Even when he had forcefully changed his direction and dodged to the right, the force had still followed him forcefully. However, Yin Yang's sudden change of direction was not in vain. Out of the ambusher's expectation, the force finally exploded when it was about 70 to 80 feet away from him. Although the massive force did not hit Yun Yang squarely, it had still affected Yun Yang, who had changed direction twice in the form of an aftershock. Yun Yang let out a low grunt, feeling as if his internal organs had ruptured at that very moment. He spat out a mouthful of blood with a cry. For a moment, his deific consciousness was a little blurry. At this time, a mountain-like silhouette appeared in front of him, blocking his way. The person's back was facing him as he faced the sky. In the air, a scorching force hovered in midair after circling once, unwilling to leave. The silhouette in front of Yin Yang hollered angrily, "Phoenix Sovereign, you've crossed the line for no reason. Do you know that you've committed a great taboo?" Yin Yang, who was severely injured from the ripple, was already in a blur of consciousness. However, when he heard the name, his heart skipped a beat. The Phoenix Sovereign. He did not expect the Phoenix Sovereign to not give up at all. He had actually followed him all the way here and struck again. What a meticulous mind, what forbearance, and what incisive tactics. He had been too careless. He had thought that he was already safe in the bound of universe. Unexpectedly, the Phoenix Sovereign had still come despite the danger. This was a great risk for the Phoenix Sovereign as well. If Xianhuang Saint Lord had received the news in time, and paid the price to restrain the Phoenix Sovereign, he might have been able to trap and kill the Phoenix Sovereign here. In order to kill Yun Yang, the Phoenix Sovereign had actually disregarded his own safety. It was evident how desperate he was to kill Yun Yang. The Phoenix Sovereign's clear voice rang out. Xianyuan Bowu, it's rare for a pinnacle Saint Lord like you to be this child's protective talisman along the way. Since his life is so precious, I shall make an exception and spare his life. Glancing at Yun Yang, the phoenix soared into the air, revealing its true form as a giant phoenix. It floated in the air in rainbow colors and flew towards the Crimson Soul Mountain. Xianyuan Bowu said angrily, Phoenix Sovereign, are you going to leave without giving an explanation? The Phoenix Sovereign said faintly, if you want an explanation, come to the demon race and get it. In a flash, he was already thousands of feet away. Xianyuan Bowu snorted. He wanted to give chase, but looking at Yun Yang who was lying on the ground, he felt uneasy. He remembered the Palace Lord's previous order. Even if there was a great merit ahead, Yun Yang's safety must be ensured first. In the end he did not give chase. He could only sigh regretfully. If he were to risk his life and burn his soul and life to force the Phoenix Sovereign to stay and send a message, as long as he could hold on until reinforcements arrived, the Phoenix Sovereign would not be able to escape no matter how capable he was. However, the Palace Lord obviously valued Yun Yang more than the Phoenix Sovereign, so there was nothing he could do. Bending down, he began to examine Yun Yang's injuries. At this time, there was another ripple in the air, and a phoenix feather suddenly appeared. Then the Phoenix Sovereign materialized again, saying coldly, Yun Yang, you are indeed lucky. The voice was filled with endless disappointment. The Phoenix Sovereign did not expect the bound of universe to give up on such a great opportunity to kill him by putting himself in danger. Before the Phoenix Sovereign's words echoed in the air, the phoenix feather was burned to ashes as it floated in the air. It was only now that the stifling feeling in the air finally disappeared. In other words, it was only now that the Phoenix Sovereign had truly given up on killing Yun Yang. If Xianyuan Bowu, who had intercepted the Phoenix Sovereign just now, had not given up and continued to pursue the Phoenix Sovereign, the Phoenix Sovereign, that was attached to the phoenix feather, could have easily killed the heavily injured Yun Yang. However, Xianyuan Bowu had not given chase and had saved Yun Yang once again. With his thoughts clear, Yun Yang heaved a sigh of relief, even though he was already in a semi-conscious state. However, he passed out as soon as he did so, but before he fainted, he still had one thought. That was close. Yun Yang was not the only one who felt that it was a close shave. Xianyuan Bowu was obviously shaken as well, cursing angrily. This phoenix is still as cunning as ever. Once he thought about how he had almost lost control and chased after Yun Yang in a fit of temper. The young man before him would surely die. If he had let Yun Yang, the great hero of humanity, be killed in front of him, he would never be able to forget this day for the rest of his life. Just this guilt, this humiliation, even if he died, he would not be able to get rid of it. He looked down at Yun Yang with lingering fear and said softly, this child's injuries are severe. I'd better bring him back as soon as possible. As he spoke, he carefully carried Yun Yang on his back and murmured, no, what if there's another ambush from behind? Therefore, he carried Yun Yang in his arms and spread his divine sense to the fullest, staying vigilant in all directions. His body floated out carefully like a cloud, but his speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, Xianyuan Bowu had disappeared at lightning speed. Chapter 1342. In the past half a year, the bound of universe could be said to be turbulent. The information that He Buyu, Shi Qingshan, and the others had told Yun Yang was insignificant. After all, they were in the battlefield of the Bloody Soul Mountain, so it was inevitable that the news was blocked. Moreover, what they were interested in during this period of time was only related to Yun Yang and the residents of Nine Supremes. They only knew about the recent situation of the residents of Nine Supremes and the sudden rise of the Ninth Supremes. The veteran celestial luck banners were quietly accumulating their strength, while the new sects were forging ahead with indomitable will. The martial world of the Bound of Universe had suddenly become lively. Many of the young disciples of high-grade sects went out to train, fight for treasures, enter dense forests, climb snowy mountains, dive into abysses, and explore ruins. The world of martial artists was colorful, and the newcomers who stood out from the crowd were a feast for the eyes. Therefore, a ranking was born for something that was special but not special, cliché but not cliché. The ranking list. And it was not just one ranking. There was the Bound of Universe list, the top 10, the top 20, the top 30. The Bound of Universe Earth list. The Bound of Universe Heaven list. The Bound of Universe Emperor list. The Bound of Universe 10 Beauties. The Bound of Universe 10 Rookies. The Bound of Universe 10 Famed Swords. The Bound of Universe 10 Sabermen. The Bound of Universe 10 Assassins. The Bound of Universe 10 Elites. Naturally, there was no lack of people behind the scenes adding fuel to the fire. The starting point of the turbulence was probably the demonic palace of the northern wasteland. Then it gradually spread to the western holy palace. After that, it was carried forward by the eastern celestial palace. In short, all four realms were involved, and there was nothing they couldn't do. It was said that an extraordinary person, who looked like an immortal, had appeared in the northern wasteland demonic palace. He was the newly famous military counselor of the Ninth Supremes, and this person's name was especially awesome. He was called Heaven's Inquisition. His name was Heaven's Inquisition, and his nickname was Heaven's Inquisition. What doubt is there in heaven? Come and ask me. Was it not domineering? This Heaven's Inquisition wasn't a person with an undeserved reputation. He was truly omniscient and knowledgeable about the information of all the heroes in the world. With this as the foundation, other than the Jianghu ranking, Heaven's Inquisition also created a mysterious yellow apex combat power ranking. Among them, it was a ranking of the pinnacle combat strength of the Bound of Universe. Not only were the Palace Masters of the East Celestial Palace, the Palace Masters of the North Wasteland Devil Palace, and the Palace Masters of the West Heaven Holy Palace all included in the list. Even the reclusive cultivators of the three palaces, who had been living in seclusion for a long time, were ranked as well. All in all, there were 100 people lined up in a row. It was also said that, after seeing the ranking list, the Palace Master of the Eastern Celestial Palace smiled and didn't say a word. As for the other Saint Sovereigns, they also didn't say a word after seeing it, as if tacitly agreeing. This kind of attitude, at the very least, he didn't verbally oppose this ranking. In fact, it was a kind of tacit approval, except for some experts who were clamoring. How could that so-and-so compare to that so-and-so? Why is his ranking higher than him? Apart from these movements, none of the parties involved made a sound. This result, of course, shocked the whole world. And Heaven's Inquisition didn't stop there. What followed was an even more shocking list that could even shock the whole Bound of Universe, the Xian Demon list. There were a total of 10 names on this list. However, each of these 10 names was enough to shock the world and shake people's hearts. In the first place, invincible in the world Imperial Dragon Emperor, demons bow to him, #1 in the world. In the second place, Nirvana Flame, supreme of the Phoenix clan, wind and clouds in the palm, heaven and earth in the heart. These were the two strongest experts recognized by the world. They both belonged to the demon race, Demon Emperor Long Yutian and Phoenix Emperor. No one would have thought that when Heaven's Inquisition ranked the top 10 experts in the world, he would directly take the top 2 spots of the Dragon Emperor and Phoenix Emperor. Wasn't this too daring? Wasn't this too inflating his demon's morale and destroying his own spirit? However, this was the truth. This was something that the experts of the Bound of Universe had already confirmed long ago. Therefore, it wasn't criticized. And the third place finally belonged to the experts of the human race. Heaven Sword Alchemy Book, the master of the Eastern Celestial Palace, Cloud Dragon and Wind Tiger, while talking and laughing. It was the palace master of the Eastern Celestial Palace. This ranking of the Xian demon list made all the cultivators of the Bound of Universe feel heavy. The high and mighty demon emperors of the Dragon and Phoenix clan were like two unshakable mountains. People couldn't help but think, if a war really broke out, who would deal with these two demon emperors? But worry was worry. It was still a distant worry. Moreover, even if that day really came, it wouldn't be the turn of the people below them to interfere. Therefore, what ordinary cultivators discussed the most were the other lists. The top 10 swordsmen, top 10 sabersmen, and the list of men. The list of earth. The list of heaven. The list of imperial emperors. Just the sound of these rankings made people feel that they were high and mighty. If one wanted to enter the list of men, it would be an extravagant hope if one didn't have the cultivation base of a saint. Moreover, the age limit for entering the list could not be more than 100 years old. If one exceeded this age limit, it was inevitable that he would be labeled as too weak and have no future. Even if one's combat strength was higher than that of those on the list and won the battle, being unqualified was still unqualified. There was no other way to explain it, and one would still not be able to enter the list of men. Of course, the most important thing was that most of the saint cultivators over 100 years old had little chance of gaining the upper hand when fighting against a young saint. If they tried their best, they would only be humiliating themselves and exposing their own inadequacies. The list of earth was above Saint King. The list of heaven was above Saint Emperor. The list of Emperor was above Saint Venerable. Above that was the list of pinnacle combat strength and the Xian demon list. These lists could basically reflect the overall strength of the Bound of Universe in the past 100 years, as well as its future development. Although the list of combat strength was highly sought after, it was still the list of top 10 beauties that received the most attention and praise. It was unknown if the military advisor of the 9th Residence of Supremes harbored selfish motives. But for some unknown reason, the list that he came up with not only had the people of the 9th Residence of Supremes' names on the list, but their positions were also quite high. First among the top 10 beauties. Devastatingly beautiful, peerlessly beautiful. The rotation of heaven and earth clears one's heart. Leader of the 9th Residence of Supremes Jilingxi. Second among the top 10 beauties. Sonorous Rose Female Beauty. Thousands of enchanting beauties, I am Shangguan. Leader of the 9th Residence of Supremes Shangguan Lingxiu. Third among the top 10 beauties. Beauty in Western Heaven. Saint Palace is the best. Beauty in Heaven, unparalleled on earth. Lian Fengfei of Saint Palace of Western Heaven. Following them were the famous beauties of other sections. The entire Bound of Universe was filled with doubtful voices, but Heaven's Inquisition's attitude was unusually firm, saying that it would rank the list as it was, and that it could do whatever it wanted. By the way, there were also a few young beauties among the top 10 beauties. The first one was the second-generation disciple of the Residence of 9 Supremes, Yun Xiuxin, and the little girl's ranking was not low either, at 7th place. Below Yun Xiuxin were Lin Xiaoro, who ranked 8th, and Cheng Jiejia, who was about to enter the top 10. This ranking had aroused the dissatisfaction of countless people, who were complaining that Heaven's Inquisition was a lolicon. Yun Xiuxin, Lin Xiaoro, and Cheng Jiejia were all little girls who were not even 16 years old. What right did they have to be ranked in the top 10 and receive such high praise? Skin of ice and bones of jade, ethereal among the clouds, beauty of peerless beauty, exquisite heart, Qiongxiu Fairy Yun Xiuxin. Deep orchid valley, fragrance wafting in the air, chivalrous bones, soft heart, soft and strong at the same time, orchid fairy Lin Xiaoro. And that Cheng Jiejia, 3 disciples from one sect were selected. If this was not shady, what was it? Have you seen what the female disciples of other sects look like? Well, whether or not Heaven's Inquisition's ranking was shady was a matter of opinion. However, the second-generation disciples of the Residence of 9 Supremes, including Bai Yexing, Lu Chongman, and Hu Xiaofan, had all made it into the Earth ranking, and many of the other disciples were also in the human ranking. All of this was achieved with real combat strength. Very few people would question this, but this was something that could not be faked. Apart from the beauty ranking and the combat ranking, the rest of the rankings also had their own rankings. The second Supreme Lord of the Residence of Nine Supremes, the Triadem Swordsman, Shi Wuchen, ranked third in the top 10 swordsman ranking. It was said that since this big shot came out of seclusion 2 months ago, his sword energy had soared to the sky, spanning 3,000 miles, and his cultivation base had soared to the level of Supreme Lord. 10,000 miles with one step was not enough to describe his progress. It was as if he was about to ascend to heaven. Now, he was truly the number one guardian of the Residence of Nine Supremes. Among the top 10 swordsmen, Luo Dajiang was on the list. And among the top 10 rising stars, the disciples of the Residence of Nine Supremes occupied 7 spots. This share was a little high, and it was simply shocking to everyone in the world. What was going on with the Residence of Nine Supremes that had appeared out of nowhere, and the Residence of Ninth Supremes that followed? The martial world of the Bound of Universe, which had been silent for a long time like a pool of stagnant water, was in turmoil for these rankings that had appeared out of nowhere. All kinds of challenges came one after another like mushrooms after the rain. Letters of challenge flew everywhere. If one were to describe it in one word, it would be, the entire martial world had suddenly come alive. Just 4 months ago, Yu Cheng-hang, the disciple of the third Supreme Lord of the Residence of Nine Supremes, Luo Dajiang, had come to the Phoenix Cry sect alone with a sword and challenged Qi Lai, the chief disciple of the sect. In this challenge that no one was optimistic about, he had killed Qi Lai with only 3 strikes of his saber. It was clean and simple. In the entire Phoenix Cry sect, no one said anything after that. They could only sigh. Qi Lai's current outcome was originally the result of the evil he had sown. The Phoenix Cry sect had long come to a consensus on the matter of Luo Dajiang's disciple coming to seek revenge. If it were them, they would also stand up for their master and challenge Qi Lai. However, no one had expected that the challenge would come so early, and so quickly, and that Qi Lai would be defeated so miserably. Speaking of which, the two sects had a close friendship, and were even related by marriage, but no one would say anything about such an irreconcilable grudge. The higher-ups of the Phoenix Cry sect had specially informed all the sects about this matter. This was a personal grudge between Qi Lai, Luo Dajiang, and his disciples, and had nothing to do with the Phoenix Cry sect itself. Of course, if there were people who thought they were on good terms with Qi Lai, or the juniors of the Phoenix Cry sect who wanted to avenge Qi Lai, they could also go to Yu Cheng-hang. The Residence of Nine Supremes would not interfere, and it would not damage the friendship between the two sections. Strictly speaking, this rule was not strictly formulated. If it was used by someone with ulterior motives, it was very likely to become the root of a disaster that would trigger an endless war of revenge. Unfortunately, from the top to the bottom of the Phoenix Cry sect, no one, whether it was the sect's higher-ups or the juniors, had the intention to stand up for him. Qi Lai had always been arrogant, and he was used to calling himself the future leader of the Phoenix Cry sect. This alone was already extremely displeasing. In addition to the fact that he regarded Jiang Luoluo as his exclusive property, he was despised by everyone. Few people in the entire Phoenix Cry sect liked him. Revenge? What revenge? How shameful it would be to be killed by the disciple of his rival in love. The resources in the Residence of Nine Supremes are so good, and I want to find a chance to cultivate there for a few days. The senior and junior sisters of the Residence of Nine Supremes are all beautiful and charming, and I like them very much. I can't even get close to them, but I want to become enemies with them? Do you think we're stupid to offend the Residence of Nine Supremes for a bastard like Qi Lai? Moreover, even if there were 1 or 2 who felt that the disciples of the Residence of Nine Supremes had disrespected the Phoenix Cry sect by killing Qi Lai with 3 strikes, they had to first weigh their own abilities and see if they could pick a fight and take revenge. Before Yun Yang went to the realm of demons, the disciples of the Residence of Nine Supremes had already begun to send their disciples out to gain experience. Today, the number of disciples who could travel the martial world independently to gain experience was about to exceed 1,000. The cultivation base of the 8 peak masters and 2 chief executives of the Residence of Nine Supremes, The original Demiurge flawed 10 had soared by leaps and bounds. Among the 10, 3 had broken through to the level of Supreme Saint, and the remaining 7 were all at the peak of 4th grade Saint Emperor. Such a comprehensive strength had far surpassed that of the Phoenix Cry sect, the top sect of the middle-class Celestial Luck Banner. The reality-stunned Ping Jinhue, Gan Tianyan, and the other higher-ups of the Phoenix Cry sect. In the previous Celestial Luck Banner battle, they had defeated the Jade Cauldron sect, which was knocked down to the last place by the General Commerce League. Now they had established a friendly relationship with the residents of 9 Supremes, and obtained a large number of excellent disciples. They felt that they could definitely go further in the next Celestial Luck Banner battle, and there was no doubt that they would be able to win the upper-class Celestial Luck Banner. However, the comprehensive strength of the residents of 9 Supremes had soared to such a level in just a short period of time. It was really unimaginable. The residence of 9 Supremes was like a behemoth, growing rapidly like a rolling snowball. Such a trend was unstoppable and unstoppable. Moreover, this progress was only on the surface of the current manpower left in the residence of 9 Supremes. It should not be forgotten that the residents of 9 Supremes still had the most unpredictable and mysterious head supreme of the residents of 9 Supremes, Yin Yang. This head supreme had not shown up for more than half a year. When the other higher-ups of the residents of 9 Supremes were making great strides, they believed that he would not slack off either. His cultivation base and strength would only improve to a higher level. Everyone still remembered that when he had just left the residence of 9 Supremes, the Celestial Luck Banner had changed dramatically because of him. It was a phenomenon that could only happen when a Supreme Saint appeared. In other words, this sect leader Yin had already attained the cultivation base of a Supreme Saint half a year ago. Now that he was nowhere to be found, no one would underestimate this Lord Supreme Cloud, even if there was no news of him. After all, no one knew what level his cultivation base had reached. Of course, the outside world was more curious about this leader of the residents of 9 Supremes, but the people of the residents of 9 Supremes missed him very much. He had disappeared so abruptly, and no one knew where he had gone among them. The ones who missed him the most were the junior disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes. During one of Bai Yexing's challenges, someone had said, "The residence of 9 Supremes is quite prosperous, but it's a pity that its leader is missing. Maybe he's dead." The residents of 9 Supremes will fall into a leaderless state and will not last long. Because of this remark, Bai Yexing flew into a rage and went on a killing spree. The entire mountaintop where the incident took place was almost dyed red. It was also because of this battle that many people knew that these disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes were still concealing their true strength. As time went by, there was still no news of Yin Yang. Finally, the people of the residents of 9 Supremes began to panic. What had happened? Why had he disappeared for such a long time? Many female disciples even secretly cried a few times. As time went by, the atmosphere in the residence of 9 Supremes grew more and more oppressive. The most obvious manifestation of this was the violence they unleashed when they roamed the martial world. It was much, much more violent than before. Even Lin Xiaoro, who was the most indifferent, had gone on a killing spree with bloodshot eyes just because someone had said that Yin Yang might already be dead. This kind of oppression had been going on, and it had never been relieved. It had been going on since the 3rd month after Yin Yang left until now. On this day, the Bound of Universe suddenly saw heavy snow. It wasn't all that rare for snow to fall all over the place. However, what was truly rare was the fact that it was snowing heavily on this day. This snowstorm was happening throughout the entire Xianhuang world. Following that, everyone realized that this snowfall was much heavier and fiercer than any previous snowfall in the past. It lasted for a whole day and night. The entire Bound of Universe, thousands of miles of territory, was covered in snow. The mountains danced like silver snakes, and the plains were like wax elephants. It was also on this day that the entire Bound of Universe, regardless of region or territory, suddenly rang with the sound of a bell. The bell rang leisurely. It did not sound very loud at first, but it was this sound that everyone in the Bound of Universe, every living being, heard it. The bell seemed to come from the heart, filled with a sense of tranquility and peace. This is the divine heavenly melody. Countless old fellows in the bound of universe, who were qualified to know this kind of bell, were shocked. The divine heavenly melody had only appeared twice in the history of the bound of universe. Only great people who had contributed greatly to the bound of universe could receive the divine heavenly melody, and it would be announced to the world and spread throughout the bound of universe. There was one time when the bloody soul pass suddenly descended from the sky, and the few bound of universe experts who were stationed at the pass perished on the spot. When the pass was open, countless demons swarmed in through the gap. At that critical juncture, the bound of universe pinnacle Saint King, who was stationed at the foot of the pass, was left alone. He did not care about his own life, withstanding the might of the heaven and earth thunder, burning his soul and spirit, and fought with all his might for 3 days and 3 nights. Countless demons were blocked outside the gap of the blood-soul mouth, and they only fell when reinforcements arrived. As the human reinforcements arrived, the Saint King could not hold on any longer. He perished immediately, without any signs of life remaining. This Saint King could not hold on any longer, but he held on with his last breath. When the reinforcements arrived, he did not even say a word before he turned into dust and disappeared. And the so-called without any signs of life referred to the fact that there were no signs of life left. It should be known that not only were the physical bodies of Saint Kings almost indestructible, their spirits were so strong that ordinary cultivators could not imagine them. If not for that, how could they possess others so easily? As long as it was a cultivator who had reached the level of Saint King, other than the physical body and spirit, there was still a bit of primordial spirit remaining. Even if their physical body and spirit were destroyed by a stronger opponent, as long as a bit of primordial spirit remained, there was still a chance for them to start over. Just like how the great elder of the Fox clan had fought against the Phoenix monarch previously, the great elder of the Fox clan had not been a match for the Phoenix monarch. If it had not been for the Fox monarch's assistance, he would have definitely perished at the Phoenix monarch's hands. However, even if his spirit had been destroyed, a bit of his primordial spirit might still have remained. Just like how Tunton and the other 2 elders of the Fox clan had ambushed the 12 dragon guards previously because they were afraid that they could not kill the 12 dragon guards. However, Tunton and the 2 elders had succeeded in their ambush, destroying the physical bodies of 6 dragon guards in an instant. Then, the Catnip and Catnip sisters had joined hands to annihilate the dragon guard spirits to their limits. Finally, Yin Yang had wrapped things up. This was the extent of killing the 12 dragon guards without any signs of life. Therefore, if one wanted to force a Saint Monarch expert to the point of no longer having any life force in a normal battle, unless the person involved insisted on not withdrawing, it was almost impossible. The Saint King of the human race, who had fought to the point of death, was called Zhou Chenlei. On that day, the 3 heavenly palaces played the heavenly hymn of the divine path for him. When Yin and Yang separated, the bound of universe thundered. His heroic deeds were sung to the entire world. In another story of the heavenly hymn of the divine path, the bound of universe was suddenly struck by an apocalyptic plague. Strange black spots appeared on the bodies of countless people. Once these spots appeared, they could not be stopped. Their bodies continued to rot slowly until they died. This apocalyptic plague spread far and wide. It covered almost half of the bound of universe, and it continued to spread until the antidote was discovered. What's more, this plague was something that even high-level cultivators were unable to resist. In that plague, more than 100 saint emperors and above died. From this, it could be seen just how tragic the situation was at that time. At the right time, an expert of medicine did not hesitate to use himself as a cauldron, tasting all kinds of poisons, and finally found the antidote to the plague. It was also on the day that the antidote was confirmed that the heavenly hymn of the divine path was spread throughout the world, telling the people of the world how to cure the plague. The alchemist named Kong Jisher had an ordinary cultivation base, only at the honor level, but he was forever worshipped and revered by the people of the world. Because of that, Kong Jisher became the grandmaster that all alchemists of the bound of universe revered. There were only 2 incidents that involved the heavenly hymn of the divine path. Even when the great elder of the Sacred Heart Palace gathered 8 experts to annihilate the demon soul, he did not receive the praise of the heavenly hymn of the divine path. In fact, there was no response at all. It was far from enough. Probably, only the merit of saving the world could trigger this sound. This time, the heavenly hymn of the divine path was heard again. Why was this? Who was the source of the noise? Everyone held their breaths, waiting quietly for the next part of the story. Since the heavenly hymn of the divine path was heard, it would not stop. It would explain the cause and effect of the sound clearly. A low but peaceful voice rang slowly in everyone's heart. Yin Yang, the leader of the residents of 9 Supremes, disregarded his own safety and bravely went into danger. He entered the demon clan alone and discovered the demon clan's conspiracy to attack the Bound of Universe, causing great damage. He even slaughtered millions of the demon clan and plotted an internal strife in the demon clan. Such a peerless achievement is truly a role model for the human race, and it is specially announced to the world, the heavenly hymn of the divine path. The residents of 9 Supremes Yin Yang. There was only a brief description of Yin Yang's feats. There was no detailed description, but the phrase slaughtering millions of demons with wisdom was enough to shock everyone to the core. Slaughtered millions of demons? The highlight was yet to come. In order to commend sect leader Yun's achievement, the 3 heavenly palaces have jointly mobilized the holy power to pray to the heavens, and the residents of 9 Supremes will be promoted to a superior class celestial luck banner sect. Sect leader Yun is conferred the title of Bound of Universe Supreme Cloud, and the world will respect him. Chapter 1343. On this day the world was shocked. The residence of 9 Supremes was truly famous. Countless people were curious and shocked. The achievement of the sect leader of the residence of 9 Supremes had alarmed the 3 great heavenly palaces, and they had jointly triggered the heavenly melody of Saint Tao. Although he didn't know the exact details, he was certain that it was an incredible achievement for such a thing to happen. As the pinnacle of the world, the 3 great heavenly palaces were not shallow places that could be deceived by others. Whether they knew him or not, they all felt deep respect for this sect leader Yin, as well as unfathomable. The residence of 9 Supreme Celestial Luck banner changed immediately. With a soft swoosh, the spiritual chi within tens of thousands of miles gathered toward the residence of 9 Supremes. At this moment, all the disciples of the residence of 9 Supremes, whether they were in the sect or outside, had a soft swoosh as the shadow of the celestial luck banner appeared outside their bodies. Endless, vast spiritual chi surged into their bodies from the celestial luck banner and the environment around them, turning into pure cultivation base. On this day, the cultivation base of the 10,000 disciples of the residence of 9 Supremes, including the higher-ups, had taken a sudden leap forward. Some disciples with lower levels had broken through 3 or 4 levels directly. Everyone above the saint level had broken through at least 1 level as well. Shi Wuchen, Luo Dajiang, and Tai Ching-song, who had just broken through to first-grade Saint Venerables not long ago, had now risen to second-grade intermediate Saint Venerables. Ping Xiaoyi and the others, on the other hand, had all advanced to first-grade Saint Venerables without exception. Such a change made the eyes of everyone from the Phoenix Cry sect, who was watching from the sidelines, red. No, it should be that the eyes of everyone who knew about this matter were red with jealousy. Among them, Dong Qitian was the most upset. F***CK. I've worked so hard for the residence of 9 Supremes for so many days, but I'm still not considered a true member of the residence. I've missed such a good opportunity. He wanted to cry. The disciples recruited by the Phoenix Cry sect, who were originally part of the residence of 9 Supremes, had some thoughts after being reformed for such a long time. However, when this matter came out, they were in an uproar. Almost all the disciples rioted, and they were just short of a collective rebellion. Not to mention them, even many higher-ups of the Phoenix Cry sect were green with envy. Looking at the name of the residence of 9 Supremes, they muttered in their hearts, "If only I were a disciple of the residence of 9 Supremes." Even Tianyan couldn't sleep for a few nights. I'm so envious. Too jealous. How envious. Countless sects in the world were filled with grief. Damn it. Why don't we have such an awesome leader? They almost wanted to cry at the same time. All the sect leaders wanted to cry at the same time. F***CK. Is this a mission that a human can complete? If you want me to create such achievements, you might as well just tell me to die. You can't bully people like that. But no matter what their thoughts were, the world was boiling. Countless people were rushing towards the residence of 9 Supremes one after another. Countless young people came like moths flying into a flame. Countless parents brought their children to travel a long and arduous journey to get here. They shared a common goal. They wanted their children to become disciples of the residence of 9 Supremes. For a time, the residence of 9 Supremes became the holy land of cultivation in the bound of universe. The situation changed abruptly, and the residence of 9 Supremes leaped from a newly established sect to a holy land of cultivation that attracted the attention of the entire bound of universe. It was an upper-class sect. The leader was the hero of the continent, the idol of the bound of universe. Therefore, the external strategy naturally had to change according to the time and the local conditions. After repeated discussions between Lan, Shiyue and Lan, who stayed behind to guard the residence of 9 Supremes, they tentatively decided to open the sect for 1 day a month to recruit disciples. The standards for recruiting disciples were greatly different from before. In the past, the residents of 9 Supremes recruited disciples almost as long as they had a sense of belonging and effort, regardless of the identity, background, age, or aptitude. After all, in the unique environment of the residence of 9 Supremes, even a piece of rotten wood could still be turned into a flawless piece of jade. It just needed time. Now the most important thing was to look at the aptitude of the disciple. At least, the disciple had to have excellent aptitude to be included in the scope of consideration. Although the residence of 9 Supremes had the foundation to slowly improve the aptitude of the disciple, this was still the highest secret of the residence of 9 Supremes, and it could not be revealed to outsiders at any time. Now that the depth and breadth of the disciple recruitment had increased, the aptitude of the disciple had to be included as the first consideration. After all, if the disciple's aptitude was outstanding, his cultivation progress would be faster in the future. Secondly, loyalty. Strictly speaking, the higher-ups of the residence of 9 Supremes valued this more when it came to the disciples they recruited. If one's aptitude was not strong enough, the residents of 9 Supremes would consider and make up for it. But if one's loyalty was not strong enough, there was nothing they could do. It could not be that the residents of 9 Supremes would train the disciple for a while and enjoy the benefits when he became successful and famous. But if there was a conflict between the loyalty to the sect and one's own vested interests, the disciple would only care about his own interests and neglect the sect's kindness in training him. Loyalty and sense of belonging had been a major focus of the sect to its disciples since ancient times. The sudden rise of a sect could be due to the sudden change of a certain disciple or a certain disciple. But when it came to long-term stability and continuous development, it could only be achieved with great cohesion. Where did the cohesion of a sect come from? It was nothing more than the loyalty and sense of belonging of the disciples. Therefore, the residents of 9 Supremes had specially set up a test of the disciples' temperament to be admitted into the residence of 9 Supremes. Those who did not have a good conscience or a bad temperament would be eliminated directly and never accepted, no matter how talented they were. At this moment, all the disciples of the residence of 9 Supremes felt elated and proud, casting sidelong glances at others. The residence of 9 Supremes, a newly established sect, had initially been inconspicuous in the Eastern Celestial Palace's Sacred Heart Palace, but after a night's change, it had become the hottest thing in the world and was the center of attention. An upper-class sect was in existence that stood at the pinnacle of the bound of universe and had always been difficult to achieve. Yet, the residence of 9 Supremes, a sect that had only been established a few days ago, had soared to the sky in a single bound and become one of the top-class sections. How could it not be eye-catching? However, for those who were interested, These were not the most important points, despite being key points. As everyone knew, the Residence of Nine Supremes was not just a newly established upper-class sect, but it had also just been established. Then, they must not have many disciples, right? If they sent their children over, and were to be admitted into the sect, it would be more than just a leap to the sky. Just thinking about it made them feel as if their ancestors were blessed with luck. As the saying went, everyone shared the same thought. Countless people brought their children to the Residence of Nine Supremes. There were even some wealthy people who belonged to the Western Heaven Holy Palace, who felt that their sons were incredibly talented, and traveled thousands of miles to come. However, the moment he arrived at the Residence of Nine Supremes, he was mesmerized by what he saw. F***CK, is this a new sect? This scale is too big. There were at least tens of thousands of disciples. This was a small sect that had just been established for 2 or 3 years at most. You must be joking. There were so many disciples in the sect, and the sect's level was so high. Therefore, it would be extremely difficult to become a disciple of the Residence of Nine Supremes, perhaps even harder than ascending to heaven. When he came here to ask around, he found that the conditions were indeed extremely harsh. Below, there were sighs of sorrow, and it was as if the plains were filled with refugees. Yun Xiuxin, Sun Mingxiu, and the first batch of 60 to 70 people who had entered the inner sect were now qualified to accept disciples. They were called the second generation of patriarchs. However, other than Sun Mingxiu, Yu Chenghang, and the other experienced and prudent people who were considering taking in a small number of disciples, Yun Xiuxin, Hu Xiaofan, and the other disciples from the central peak had flatly refused. What a joke, I'm still a child. I can't even take care of myself. Let's talk about it in a few years. The Residence of Nine Supremes was now on the right track. Little fatty Qian Duoduo's role had changed from being very important to being especially important now. Other than Yun Yang, he was another indispensable and extremely important character in the Residence of Nine Supremes. Although this head chief steward felt like dying when he was cultivating, and had no motivation at all, when it came to handling the matters of the sect, it was as if he had been injected with chicken blood. He did not sleep for 7 to 8 days as if he was taking a break, and it was normal for him to work for 10 days to half a month. Dealing with those trivial and boring matters of the sect in other people's eyes made him feel like he was having a headache, but instead, he was in high spirits. He was even more excited than if he had taken an aphrodisiac. He had also selected talents from the disciples who were suitable for each position, and placed them one by one. Facts had also proved that he had a keen eye for talent. Each of them played a great role in their respective positions, and the training of the reserve forces was even more effective. Little Fatty had continuously studied and perfected various sect rules and systems through practice. For the first time, the Residence of Nine Supremes had a black-clad law enforcement team. 100 members of the law enforcement team patrolled the sect in shifts every day, acting in an orderly manner and impartial manner. The establishment of the law enforcement team had made all the disciples keep quiet out of fear, not daring to act rashly. Each of the Demiurge Flawed 10 thought highly of themselves, but when it came to Little Fatty, who was much stronger than them in terms of combat strength, they admired him from the bottom of their hearts. They were not the only ones who admired him. When Ping Junue, Gan Tianyan, and a few other higher-ups of Phoenix Cry sect witnessed with their own eyes how Little Fatty had transformed the Residence of Nine Supremes from a pile of loose sand in a very short time, they were also full of admiration and envy. Disciples with outstanding aptitude were hard to come by, but it was not difficult for a sect that owned a celestial luck banner. On the other hand, a talent like Little Fatty Qian Duoduo, who managed the sect, was extremely hard to come by. If one did not give such a person a stage, one would not be able to discover his talent at all. However, if one did not show his talent, how could one judge his talent? This was a paradox of cause and effect, but Residence of Nine Supremes was extremely lucky. Before the Demiurge Flawed 10 was invited to join, they had already discovered this talent, and placed him in the position of the head steward, giving him great authority. That was how Little Fatty was able to shine and flourish. It was simply a stroke of luck, a blessing made in heaven. As they cultivated for a long time, Yun Xiuxin, Bai Yexing, Hu Xiaofan, Lu Changman, and other first-generation true disciples' progress did not slow down at all. Instead, they became faster and faster, and their cultivation base was already much higher than that of their peers. Although Sun Mingxiu, Yu Chenghang, and the others could also be ranked among the peerless geniuses, they were still a step behind geniuses like Yun Xiuxin and Bai Yexing, and they were even inferior to Hu Xiaofan, who was blessed by providence. Yun Yang had attached great importance to Hu Xiaofan since the beginning. Genius disciples were rare, and hard-working genius disciples were even rarer. However, a hard-working genius disciple, who also had the luck and opportunity that ordinary people could not have, was even harder to find. Speaking of Hu Xiaofan, he was not just constantly encountering opportunities. He could find them just by going out for a stroll, and he could find treasures even when he took a dump. In short, many things that he encountered made people speechless. There was envy, jealousy, and hatred, especially hatred, with the difference in personal achievements among the first-generation disciples. Although Sun Mingxiu and the others did not stop cultivating and still worked hard to make progress, they had now begun to get involved in some management affairs of the sect. Even Sun Mingxiu, Yu Chenghang, and a few others were now in charge of the current affairs of the residents of Nine Supremes. Moreover, everything was done in an orderly manner. As for Yun Xiuxin, she was the eldest senior sister, and her cultivation base was the best among her peers, but she did not care about these things at all. You guys deal with it as you see fit, and don't bother me. If you come again, I'll beat you up. Yun Xiuxin only cared about one thing now. This abominable Hu Xiaofan's cultivation base is advancing too fast. He's about to catch up with me. How can this be? She must work hard and keep this bastard down. Otherwise, where would her dignity as the eldest senior sister be? Sure, Wuchen and the others did not deliberately guide the disciples to get involved in the affairs of the sect. They just set up various positions and let the disciples choose freely according to their actual situation. If they wanted to continue cultivating and go all the way, no one would say anything. They were completely free. But under this premise, they could also get involved in the work that they liked and were interested in. Only by choosing according to their heart could they exert the greatest efficiency. The martial world was boiling, and the residents of Nine Supremes was thriving. Everyone was happy and excited, and they were all moving forward on the path they had chosen. Every new list was a path to heaven. The road ahead was different, and everyone had their own way. A man had to become famous as soon as possible, and he would cross the martial world with his blade. He would grow angry between life and death, and his name would spread in the heaven list. While the residents of Nine Supremes was in ecstasy and celebrating, the martial world was boiling, and the list was stirring up a storm. Yun Yang, the hero of the continent and the role model of the bound of universe, was melancholy. At this moment, sect leader Yun could not help but feel melancholy. The Phoenix Emperor's sneak attack was extremely sharp. If it wasn't for his quick reflexes and accurate response, dodging more than 80% of the sneak attack's power, and only withstanding less than 20% of the remaining impact, his soul would have probably been destroyed immediately, and he would have died on the spot. However, the full-force attack of a top expert in this world, even if it was only 20% of the impact, was still not something Yin Yang could withstand. Almost all of his internal organs were shattered, and the severity of his injury was unprecedented. When he opened his eyes again and regained his consciousness, he was already in a palace shrouded in clouds and mist. What made Yin Yang the most speechless was that the moment he opened his eyes, a furry fox had opened its eyes at the same time, and a sense of weakness washed over him. As Yin Yang's mind raced, he was shocked to find that he was in front of a huge mirror, and the fox head and the sense of weakness were the most realistic portrayal of him right now. At least at this moment, Yin Yang felt that he had nothing left to live for. Damn it! The most urgent thing he wanted to do now was to shatter this mirror with a punch. This was heart-wrenching. Shouldn't I be greeted with attentive service and warm comfort when I walked in while I was unconscious? Shouldn't it be the care of a strong expert? Shouldn't it be? Why did they put a mirror here? Just looking at the position, it was not the right place to put a mirror. Was this *king specially prepared for me? What kind of mischievous person would be able to do such a shady business? Oh. Yin Yang closed his eyes and moaned subconsciously, only to realize that no part of his body was in pain. He was in perfect condition, no different from when he was not injured. This situation was obviously inconsistent with Yin Yang's prediction. He had been struck by the Phoenix Emperor's palm earlier, and was severely injured. If he was barely hanging on to his last breath now, something would not be right. The feeling he was experiencing right now was so good that it was illogical. In spite of this, it was a good thing that he was fully recovered. Yin Yang sat up immediately, and looked at the clouds passing by outside the window, feeling the extremely dense spiritual qi in the room, that was almost 10 times denser than the residence of 9 Supremes. He could not help scratching his head. Where is this? Is anyone there? A voice answered. The little fox is awake. Let's go take a look. *CK, you're the little fox. Your whole family are little foxes. Yin Yang cursed inwardly, but his face was filled with sincere gratitude. May I know which senior has saved me? Yin Yang, thank you for saving my life. The tightly shut door opened with a creak. 2 middle-aged men walked in amicably and said with a chuckle, Look at our hero. It's a little fox. The voice belonged to the mischievous one from before. The 2 middle-aged men who walked in were dressed in white robes. They were tall, their faces as fair as jade, and their eyes were filled with the galaxy. Every movement they made exuded a natural aura. Yin Yang was no stranger to such a feeling recently, because he had been in close contact with the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor. He knew that this was the unique elegance of a pinnacle expert. Thank you, seniors. May I know who you are? Yin Yang was very respectful. This little brat is cursing us in his heart. He's not a son, not a son. One of the middle-aged men said with a frown. The other nodded and said rather sternly, I heard it too. Yin Yang was speechless. What nonsense. It's not like I haven't had close contact with the so-called pinnacle powerhouses like you. I don't know the extent of your abilities. Even saints can't read my mind, let alone you lot. If there's really a special detection, how could Emmy not notice it? How could it not give me a warning? These 2 old men were obviously lying through their teeth. There was no way they could yell at this young master. Seniors, you must be joking. This junior doesn't have such filthy thoughts, Yin Yang said sincerely. This old man can't be bothered to argue with you. The 2 old men put on a magnanimous look. One of them said, But you can curse us in your heart. Remember this. Don't forget it in the future. You owe us a favor. What the *CK? Yin Yang was dumbfounded. What a scam. He had to give it up. Could this be the true nature of a saint? Yin Yang suddenly had a huge suspicion towards the word saint. Could it be that only such a shameless person could become a saint? If so, I'm afraid I've already taken the wrong path. My future is bleak. This is the East Celestial Palace. The middle-aged man on the left who was slightly taller smiled at Yin Yang. I am the master of the East Celestial Palace, Dongfang Haoren. Yin Yang was shocked when the other party revealed his identity. The person in front of him was the master of the East Celestial Palace? The other middle-aged man put his hands behind his back and said, Are you shocked? This is the legendary East Celestial Palace, but the surprises are not over yet. There are more coming. Listen well. I am the master of the West Heaven Holy Palace, Shimen Fafu. Yin Yang's eyes widened in shock. Mamma mia. I actually met 2 masters of the Celestial Palace at the same time. The master of the East Celestial Palace, Dongfang Haoren, and the master of the West Heaven Holy Palace, Shimen Fafu. That's not right. Yin Yang thought of something and asked, Isn't the master of the West Heaven Holy Palace surnamed Lian? Shimen Fafu's face turned purple as he said angrily, Who told you that? What a bastard. Ha ha ha. Dongfang Haoren burst into laughter, his image completely gone. That's right, the master of the West Heaven Holy Palace said that his surname is Lian. It's not wrong. Ha ha ha. His wife's surname is Lian, ha ha. The master of the East Celestial Palace was laughing so hard that he was holding his stomach. His image had long changed. Shimen Fafu's face was purple as he huffed and puffed, his eyes looking at Dongfang Haoren like a dead fish. His stomach bulged as he asked through gritted teeth. You think it's funny? Not funny, not funny. Dongfang Haoren held his stomach. Ha ha ha, not funny at all. Shiman Fafa was getting more and more exasperated. His finger pointed at Yin Yang fiercely 3 times before he flicked his sleeves and left without saying a word. It's good that he's gone, it's good that he's gone. This reputed one can laugh more, laugh more. Oh my, I'm dying of laughter. This is the first time I'm feeling so carefree in these thousands of years. Dongfang Haoren was laughing so hard that tears were rolling down his cheeks. Looking at Yun Yang's dumbfounded expression, Dongfang Haoren, who had gradually stopped laughing, burst out laughing again, while holding his stomach. Yun Yang had a vague guess in his heart, but he felt that it was unlikely. Have you guessed it? This fellow is afraid of his wife, ha ha. Yun Yang, you're amazing. You've hit the nail on the head, ha ha. Dongfang Haoren was overjoyed, his laughter growing louder. He was even happier when he saw the regret on Yun Yang's face. Someone reported from outside. Palace Lord Shiman has left in a huff for some reason. It looks like he's gone back to the Western Paradise. That Palace Master Shiman actually left just like that? Yun Yang could not help but be dumbfounded on the spot. Do you have to be so narrow-minded? You're one of the 3 legendary leaders of the Bound of Universe's human race. Are you so intolerant? Looking at Dongfang Haoren, who was laughing too hard, Yun Yang could only feel speechless. The 3 palace lords of the Bound of Universe were all such eccentrics. One was afraid of his wife, another was mischievous. His words and actions were infuriating. Was the remaining one more normal? Or was he even more eccentric? Birds of a feather flock together. If the other one was the same, I'm really... Yun Yang's heart was filled with waves of regret. He had not forgotten that his disciple, Chung Jiejia, had once become sworn sisters with a lady from Western Heaven Saint Palace when she went out to train. The lady had claimed that her surname was Lien. Now that he thought of it, he had only asked in passing. Who would have thought that he had hit a sensitive spot? With a single sentence, he had chased her away. Would anyone believe him if he said that it was purely unintentional? Very soon, Yun Yang was filled with even more regret. After Dongfang Haoren's hearty laughter, he finally began to chat with him. After expressing his high praise for Yun Yang's series of actions in the demon realm, he showed an attitude of wanting to talk to Yun Yang as an equal, which made Yun Yang feel slightly better. Who am I? I'm the brother of the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor, 2 peerless experts of this era. Talking to me as an equal isn't too degrading, is it? It was then that Yun Yang asked. Palace Lord Dongfang, look at this face of mine, this manifestation of mine. Can I help you recover? Yun Yang looked miserable. It's too unsightly to wear such a fox's head. It's not good for the martial world either. Ha 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 ha. Dongfang Haoren burst into laughter once more upon hearing the question. Yun Yang was speechless. Perhaps this time, the palace lord was even funnier. He laughed for an hour until he was out of breath. Only then did he shake his head. No, I don't have that capability. Yun Yang was speechless. In the East Celestial Palace, I'm the only one who has the ability to lift this seal for you. However, I'm connected to heaven and man recently, so I can't use the power of a saint for the time being. Dongfang Haoren shook his head, a strange smile creeping on his face. Yun Yang could vaguely feel that something was amiss. I can't do it, but I can't leave you, the continent's hero, to be unconcerned when you're in trouble. That's why I've sent a letter to ask Shiman Fengfu to come here, for him to lift this seal for you. Dongfang Haoren could not hold it in anymore, as he slapped his thigh and guffawed. But you've angered him so much that he went home just now. Ha 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 ha. Yun Yang was dumbstruck. Dumbfounded. Dumbstruck. He looked at the Lord of the Eastern Celestial Palace with a face full of despair. He opened his mouth, then opened it again, then opened it again, and then closed it again, feeling as if his heart had died. Am I so unlucky? One can but can't. The other can but I've driven him away. And I don't even know what's going on. Did I use up all my good luck on the demon clan's side? Things will turn in the opposite direction when they reach an extreme. But you don't have to worry too much. Dongfang Haoren comforted him. What does senior mean? Yin Yang's eyes brightened. With my progress, the current situation will be over in another 1 or 200 years. By then I can help you. Dongfang Haoren said. My generation has achieved true cultivation. Cultivating in seclusion for 100 years is nothing. You just have to wait patiently. Cultivating in seclusion for 100 years is nothing? But I can't wait patiently, and I don't have the time. Yin Yang roared in his heart. Actually, when it comes to the demon race's heaven-sealing magic, I'm more inclined to you cultivating it yourself and using your own strength to lift this seal. If you can break the seal with your own strength, I believe that your cultivation base will be unparalleled in this world by then. In my opinion, let's just do it. Think about it. Before you become invincible, be a fox. After being invincible, be a human. Just thinking about it makes me feel so excited. Dongfang Haoren guided him patiently. Ha 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 ha. Yin Yang turned his head in despair, not wanting to look at the other again. Even if the other was the master of the Eastern Celestial Palace, Yin Yang did not want to give him any face at this moment. He even had the urge to punch him. Excited? I think it's more exciting to punch you, an old pervert who takes pleasure in other people's misfortune. If I can beat you until your wife can't even recognize you, wouldn't that be even more exciting? But it was just a thought. At least, Yin Yang could not do it at this stage, let alone do it. But in the future, a gentleman's revenge is not too late even after 10 years. But a villain's revenge is done from morning till night. Since senior has other things to attend to, and it's rare for you to lend a helping hand, this junior will take his leave. Yin Yang sat on the bed in despair and said dejectedly, Hey, why are you in such a hurry? Dongfang Haoren said seriously, Why are you in such a hurry to leave? I still have to introduce you to a lot of people later, so they can get to know you. I don't mean to embarrass you. Think about it. With your cultivation base and the fox head you're wearing now, it wouldn't be good if you were accidentally killed by these people when you're out walking. Yin Yang was shocked when he heard this. F***ck, you want me to show off and do it in public? Even if what you said makes sense, why do I feel that you just want to make use of my matter to laugh again? I'm not going. Haha, this is not up to you. Dongfang Haoren's smile was very evil and thought-provoking. After a dozen days of eating and waiting for death, Yin Yang had not been idle these days. The spiritual qi here was so rich, Yin Yang naturally had to make use of every bit of time to cultivate and improve. What surprised him was that he had broken through to 3rd grade Saint Venerable, and his cultivation base had soared to 3rd grade Saint Venerable Pinnacle. The short period of cultivation in the East Celestial Palace had pushed his cultivation base to the pinnacle of 3rd grade Saint Venerable. Something must have happened when he was unconscious. Otherwise, his cultivation base would not have broken through a realm the moment he woke up. There must be some other reason. But what had actually happened? During this period of time, there were a few elderly people who took turns to talk to Yin Yang every day. How long have I been unconscious? Yin Yang looked at the snowflakes that had started to fall outside, and could not help being stunned. I remember. When I came down, it was only late autumn. How could time fly so quickly? It's actually snowing heavily? You weren't unconscious. Although the Phoenix Emperor's attack injured you, it was just a residual force. It's not a big deal. It was our palace lord who put you in the soul-quenching pool for 2 whole months. You, the elder who spoke, was a supreme saint expert. His cultivation base was higher than Yin Yang's, but when he mentioned the soul-quenching pool, his face was full of envy. Soul-quenching pool? Yin Yang was stunned. The soul-quenching pool is the bound of universe's blessed land. It has the miraculous effect of refining the soul. Those who are fated to enter it will no longer have any bottlenecks in the path of becoming a saint. The supreme saint expert sighed. The soul-quenching pool accumulates spiritual energy from heaven and earth. It takes 3,000 years to gather enough power to be used. And this time, it was all given to you. Huh? Yin Yang was genuinely shocked. Gathering the soul-quenching pool once every 3,000 years? All given to him? It might be more than that. Yin Yang looked at Emmy, who had also fallen into a deep slumber in the space. Not only were its leaves richer and greener, they had also grown larger. The huge lotus leaves were faintly glowing with a golden halo, and the vines were visibly thicker. There was even a tiny lotus root growing beneath it. Although it was very small, it was truly there. It was obvious that this fellow had obtained even more benefits from this fortuitous encounter. It was hard to say whether the soul-quenching pool could still be used in the future. Thinking of this, Yin Yang could not help feeling guilty. However, when he recalled the gloating face of the East Celestial Palace's lord, Dongfang Haoran, the guilt vanished without a trace and was replaced with a sense of delight. Serves you right. A wicked person will be tormented by another wicked person. I'll make you pay for laughing at me. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge, but a despicable one takes revenge from dawn to dusk. Whether Yin Yang is a gentleman or a despicable person, it all depends on the person. At this moment, the Lord of the East Celestial Palace was frowning as he stood by the side of a pool that was almost completely dried up. He sighed as he stroked his chin, his eyes filled with confusion. What's going on? Dongfang Haoran was extremely puzzled. What kind of physique does that child have? He's only a second-grade supreme saint. How could he suck the entire soul-quenching pool dry? This isn't just any F***king drying up. **T. This, the soul-quenching pool's foundation is probably damaged this time. Without 10,000 years to regather the spiritual essence, it can't be used a second time. This is uncanny. Even a pinnacle saint wouldn't do this if he soaked in the pool once. Is Yin Yang actually such a heaven-defying freak? What a monster! Dongfang Haoran was extremely conflicted. He was the one who made the decision and did it himself. Yin Yang was unconscious at the time and was thrown in by him. No matter what, it didn't make sense for him to pay for it. However, this matter was too frustrating and strange. Seeing that many people find it too slow, I smiled bitterly as well. It's not that I'm boasting, but I'm probably the only one who can update like this after writing for more than 10 years. I'll try my best, don't worry everyone. But my body isn't as good as it was a few years ago. I can even faint from staying up all night. Haha. Take care of my body and adjust. As long as everyone isn't tired of me, I'm very willing to accompany my brothers for a few more years. I can't just die all of a sudden, haha. Chapter 1344. One day half a month later, Yin Yang was dragged out by Dongfang Haoran in a sudden snowfall. At this moment, he was facing a huge crowd that filled the entire venue. Everyone looked at Yin Yang from head to toe as if they were visiting a zoo, their eyes filled with interest. There were hundreds of Saint Venerables and dozens of Saint Monarchs present. At the very front, there were even a few half-saint experts who were sizing up this fox-headed man. Yin Yang wanted to cry but had no tears. Bringing me out to meet people like this, I'm obviously being seen and watched. This is our bound of universe's Supreme Yin, the residence of 9 Supremes Supreme Yin Yang, sect leader Yin. Our bound of universe's young hero. Dongfang Haoran said seriously. Everyone, don't think that sect leader Yin's fox face is his original face. And don't think that sect leader Yin is the demon race's defection to the bound of universe. Sect leader Yin's trip to the demon race this time was a great success, but he was targeted by the demon race's wisest Phoenix Emperor. That's why he looks like this now. It's not a crime of war. It's not a crime of war. The group of old fellows below could not help but laugh. They all sighed and said, "Sigh, what a pity, what a pity. Those beasts of the demon clan are too insidious. They used such a despicable method." Yin Yang was exasperated, feeling more and more embarrassed. Who among these old fellows did not know his exact situation? Now they even wanted to put him on display. This was clearly a plot against him. Beasts, I have a fox's head now. Am I a beast too? The main purpose of gathering all of you here, other than letting you all know the bound of universe's young hero, is to implore all of you not to treat sect leader Yin as a demon and kill him when you roam the martial world in the future. Dongfang Haoran said seriously. Sect leader Yin is the bound of universe's hero, a role model for the entire human race. Don't commit such a great crime that will harm others and yourself. The group of old fellows knew what he meant and said with smiles, we won't. Not to mention sect leader Yin's fox head. Even if we meet an ordinary fox, we'll be merciful for sect leader Yun's reputation. Yun Yang could only roll his eyes at the sky now. He was already prepared in his heart. Perhaps it was necessary to let everyone know him. But the current atmosphere was definitely a variation of a prank. This bunch of old farts were clearly using this as an excuse to toy with him. Having figured this out, Yun Yang gradually let go of his worries. These old seniors were just a bunch of old and bored fellows who had nothing else to do. Old seniors. Yun Yang spoke. It had to be said that having a fox's head might not be a big deal in the demon race, but in the human world, especially when one stood in front of a large crowd and spoke with a straight face, it was rather comical. As soon as he opened his mouth, a few of the old fellows below snorted. Seniors, you are too kind. Compared to all of you, I am merely a child. I acted on impulse and succeeded by luck. I am truly not worthy of your praise. Dongfang Haran raised a brow. What was this child trying to say? There seemed to be a hidden meaning in his words. My original intention of going to the demon race was to fulfill my duty as a member of the human race. Although I succeeded in stirring up a storm and killed some of the demon race, I escaped in a sorry state and was even trapped in a place of no return. If it wasn't for the seniors' rescue, how could I have survived? Speaking of which, I can only say that I am ashamed. Yin Yang looked ashamed. As the saying goes, one must be strong to forge iron. At the end of the day, the root of Yin Yang's exhaustion is that Yin Yang's ability is too weak. Listening to Yin Yang's words, the group of old fellows who were at least a few thousand years old were all stunned. The scene turned into an awkward silence. They could vaguely feel that this fellow's words were hidden to the extreme, but they could not discern anything at this point. Yin Yang's voice grew more and more regretful. I, Yin Yang, was initiated into cultivation at the age of 3, and achieved initial success in saber practice at the age of 5. I grew up in the lower realm, and did not know the vastness of heaven and earth, like a frog at the bottom of a well. I was fortunate enough to break through the void at the age of 19, and come to the bound of universe. Shocked by the vastness of the world, I was overwhelmed with fear and trepidation, always cautious in my words and actions, not daring to be the slightest bit careless. After half a year, I broke through to the level of saint and felt very good about myself. But I didn't know that compared to my peers in the upper-class sects, I was still far behind. Until the age of 21, I broke through to the Saint King realm, and built the residence of 9 Supremes, but I was still struggling at death's door. Now I'm 23 years old. In order to fulfill my duty as a human, and fulfill the senior's entrustment, I went to the demonic race. Although I was successful in stirring up trouble, my cultivation base has stagnated for a long time. Until now, I've only broken through to the pinnacle of the 4th level of Saint Venerable. If not for this, how could I walk in the demonic race? Each step would be filled with thorns and death. When faced with the encirclement of the demonic race's higher-ups, I was powerless to fight back and could only endure it passively, sighing helplessly. Yin Yang heaved a long sigh and said, among the seniors, there are Saint Venerable cultivators who are on par with me, and there are also experts of higher levels. However, I, Yin Yang, have risked my life for so many years, and have only reached this level. I know that I'm very insignificant and shallow. At least compared to the seniors, be it experience or achievements, I'm too far behind. From now on, Yin Yang must learn well from the seniors and improve every day. If I could have the cultivation base of all the seniors, I wouldn't have to disguise myself when I go to the demonic race this time. I'll just sweep through everything and no one will dare to challenge me. I'm 23 now. I've lurked in the demonic race for several months, and stayed in the Eastern Celestial Palace for more than 2 months. And I'm almost 24. I'm actually only at the pinnacle of the 4th level of Saint Venerable. Yin Yang sighed at the sky. All in all, I'm still too weak. Now I even have the head of a fox, making a fool of myself. I'm ashamed. Compared to the seniors, this junior can only say the word ashamed in my heart. There are Saint Venerables, saints, half-saints, and even powerful saints. Yin Yang was extremely envious. With my progress, I really don't know when I'll be able to improve further. I don't know if I can do it next year, but I'll definitely be able to improve the year after that. Everyone below looked at each other. The lips of a third-level Saint Venerable cultivator trembled. He wanted to say something with a dark expression, but he shut his mouth in the end. He was not the only one. Most of the people present had an interesting look on their faces. Yes, you're weak. You're too weak. You keep saying that you're a 23-year-old fourth-level Saint Venerable, and you don't forget to add the word pinnacle. But if you're still ashamed to this extent, what are we going to do? Your father is 7,500 years old this year, and I'm only a second-level Saint Venerable. Should I be ashamed? Your father is more than 9,000 years old, and I'm only a third-level pinnacle Saint Venerable. Won't I die of shame? Your father has been around for more than 10,000 years, and I'm only at the same level as you. I should die early and be reborn, lest I embarrass myself in front of others. Your father has lived for 20,000 years, and I'm a fourth-level Saint Venerable, but I'm not at the pinnacle. According to what you said, your father has lived these 20,000 years in vain. You're already a fourth-level Saint Venerable at the age of 23. You're amazing, really amazing. Are you ashamed of yourself? You're clearly showing off, aren't you? Even those who were recognized as the so-called rising geniuses of the younger generation of the East Celestial Palace looked like they were about to eat **T after hearing Yin Yang's impassioned speech. We're called geniuses, talents, rising stars, the new hope of the bound of universe, the successors of the East Celestial Palace. But the youngest among us is already 700 to 800 years old. Before this, they were still feeling proud of themselves, thinking that they were unparalleled, peerless talents. But now, compared to this 23-year-old fourth-level pinnacle Saint Venerable, they felt like **king dogs. It turned out that what they had always been proud of was not even worth mentioning in front of him. Dongfang Haoren's expression was a little ugly as well. This child's speech was clearly to take revenge on him. What did he mean by doing his duty as a human? So his cultivation base was stagnant. Then he said that with the cultivation base of the seniors present, he could sweep through all of them. Who could stand up to him? Every word and sentence clearly had a hidden meaning. Who was he trying to intimidate? However, no one could accuse Yin Yang of being wrong to his face. It was all because his words had been extremely respectful and humble, and he had even played the victim along the way. If they were to say it out loud, it would only be more humiliating. Sect leader Yun is a peerless character, an outstanding talent of this world. Dongfang Haoren smiled kindly, wanting to brush this matter off with a laugh. Not at all, not at all. This junior really doesn't deserve such a compliment from Palace Lord Dongfang. Compared to Palace Lord Dongfang, Yin Yang is even more ashamed. I can only look up to you like a high mountain. Compared to Palace Lord Dongfang, when Yin Yang was my age, your cultivation base must have far surpassed this junior's. The difference is like heaven and earth. We can't even be mentioned in the same breath. Yin Yang said humbly. Dongfang Haoren's words were at the tip of his tongue, but they were all choked. His handsome and elegant face slowly turned purple. His eyes were fixed on Yin Yang, his breathing heavy. I want to slap him to death. Little bastard. How dare you insult me in front of my face? When your father was this child's age, the difference in our cultivation base was indeed like heaven and earth. It couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. However, the truth has to be calculated in reverse. *King Hell. It had to be said that when Yin Yang said this, the experts below him went from being filled with righteous indignation to being incomparably calm and tranquil. Everyone had a similar feeling. Seeing their palace lord being rebuked with exasperation, it was truly delightful. The tiny bit of frustration they felt earlier was not even worth mentioning. There was never a lack of geniuses in this world. They were geniuses, advancing at an incredible speed. That was how they could achieve their current greatness. How could they mere mortals compare to them? Forcing a comparison was simply asking for trouble. Taking 10,000 steps back, Palace Lord, if you didn't drag them out as an exhibition, why would they retaliate like this? You're reaping what you've sown. Actually, all of us have been dragged into this by you. Now, they've started to rebuke the main culprit. Those of us who aren't gifted and advance slowly can just watch the show. Dongfang Haoren said with a dark expression. Sect leader Yin may be a sly fox, but he's still the hero of the bound of universe, the role model of the human race. Everyone must take him as a role model and try their best to emulate him. Meeting adjourned. Dongfang Haoren said with a dark expression and said, Sect leader Yin, come with me. This reputed one will have a good talk with you. Before his words echoed in the air, a burst of laughter came from below. The whole story was simple and brutal. Dongfang Haoren had seen these old fellows staying quiet for a long time, cultivating every day. They had almost lost all joy in life, so he wanted to make use of Yin Yang's incident to entertain them. After all, with these top-notch human cultivators' knowledge, there were too few things that could tug at their heartstrings. The palace lord had said it sanctimoniously. It's good to have some fun, but please be careful. Jokes are fine, but don't go overboard. Young people are too shy. It's not good to go overboard. Who would have thought that the palace lord's words would be more outrageous than anyone else's? And everyone would naturally follow him. However, the final result was that they were all retaliated, and they could not even say anything about it. He was such a genius. He had become a supreme lord at the age of 23. At the age of 23, he had achieved such an achievement that the entire human race of the continent admired. What could you do? What could you do? This matter? Ha ha ha. It has nothing to do with me anyway. The palace lord was incredibly talented, ruling over the universe alone. Everything was under his control, but his personality was a little odd. He would always think of pranking others when he was in a high position. All these years, everyone had been pranked by the palace lord countless times. For tens of thousands of years, no one had not been pranked by the palace lord. As the resentment grew, everyone hoped to see the palace lord suffer. This time, they had really seen it, and it was truly satisfying. Good boy. How dare he? But what kind of sect is he from? The residents of 9 Supremes? I must go and have a look. The group of old fellows had an interesting expression on their faces. They all had a subtle feeling that the trip was not in vain. Yes, they had finally watched a show of the century. Not only was it worth the ticket price, it was more than worth the price. They really wanted to watch a few more shows like this. It would not be too much even if they could watch 8 or 10 of such shows every day. Most importantly, everyone had a very high opinion of Yin Yang. Their palace lord would only prank those of similar cultivation base, or his own people. But he would never prank outsiders or enemies. In other words, one had to be qualified to be pranked by the palace lord. The method that the palace lord had used to prank Yin Yang seemed to be going overboard. But in fact, it had elevated Yin Yang's status to an extremely high level, almost to the point where they were on equal footing. Such an attitude was worth pondering, and it was even more terrifying. This young fellow has reached the pinnacle of the 4th level Supreme Saint at the age of 23. Not only is he a prodigy, but his luck is also amazing. His future achievements may not be weaker than the palace lord's. It depends on whether the palace lord is willing to promote him personally. His name has already spread across the world, and he has even personally prayed to the heavens to elevate the residents of 9 Supremes to an upper-class sect. His momentum has been formed, and it's hard to suppress it anymore. His future achievements. Immeasurable is the final conclusion. It all depends on how far he can go. If I can't kill this person in one strike, I can only befriend him. Remember the mobile version of the website, Chapter 453, Battle A Wave, page 1/1. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 1345. June 1st, Supreme Martial Artist's 2nd birthday. The book was published on June 1st, 2017. So far, 3,750,000 words. Not much. But it's coming to an end. 2 years. Mixed feelings. I Am Supreme Martial Artist was written about feelings of patriotism at the beginning. Millions of words later, my own feelings of writing were slowly drained away. Countless people protested in their chapters. We're not here to receive patriotism education. If you love your country, so do we. But don't force it into your head. Then, It slowly became a book about leveling up and killing monsters. It could be said that this was a bizarre and unimaginable turn of events. I've painfully considered it countless times and realized my mistake. Sometimes there are too many slogans. Actually, the most important thing for a protagonist in a book is to do it, not to say it. The most important thing for a supporting character is to do it, not to say it. Actually, I could have written it well, but the strength of my writing is a little lacking. I could have influenced it subtly, but my writing was too direct. So this is my fault. I have to carry it. Finally, I've stumbled all the way to the end. For the next book, I'm going to change my writing style. I'm going to write a protagonist who is relaxed and doesn't have to worry so much. I'm grateful to my brothers and sisters for being so tolerant along the way and accompanying me until now. I'm grateful to my managers for being so conscientious and hardworking along the way. I'm grateful to my leaders for their generous contributions along the way. Without you, there wouldn't be a Supreme Martial Artist book. I wish everyone a happy holiday. I also wish Supreme Martial Artist a happy birthday. I wish Supreme Cloud a happy birthday. Today is Children's Day. We're still children, let's be happy. Go and act coquettishly. Mama, I want to eat a lot of delicious food. Little sister, bring me out to play. Chapter 1346. Yin Yang followed Dongfang Haoran. Along the way, there were exotic flowers and grasses, as well as treasures of heaven and earth. Even the flowing water under the pavilion was overflowing with spiritual qi. If an ordinary person were to drink a mouthful of this spiritual qi-filled water, they would be able to extend their lifespan. This was just the most ordinary spring water. It was not liquid spiritual qi, nor was it pure drinking water. Its original use was to rear fishes, or rather, to create the feeling of flowing water. In the flower beds on both sides, some of the exotic flowers and plants seemed to have developed intelligence. Many finger-sized boys and girls were flying and playing among the branches and leaves. When they saw someone coming, they could only hide under the branches and leaves of the flowers and plants. They couldn't hide, and all of them stretched out their little heads to look curiously. They were all spiritual herb sprites. What a great place! Yin Yang praised from the bottom of his heart. The atmosphere here was unique. Compared to the deific consciousness space, each had its own merits and advantages. Yin Yang could not help but think of something else. If those flower sprites entered the deific consciousness space, they would immediately produce a lot of vitality. It would not be a problem for them to produce energy of vitality. Although Emmy was a mighty being and never lacked spiritual energy of vitality, one could never have too much of it. Along the way, there would be flower sprites flying over occasionally to offer a cup of spiritual tea, or a fruit to Dongfang Haoran respectfully. Their intimacy was obvious. Dongfang Haoran's attitude towards these sprites was much more amiable. He accepted them calmly, laughing as he enjoyed them. The uneasiness from earlier seemed to have vanished completely. The East Celestial Palace is a world of its own. It has been peaceful for tens of thousands of years. Dongfang Haoran walked forward slowly, his voice indifferent. However, with your arrival, Yin Yang, you've brought a towering malevolence to this realm. Me? Yin Yang pointed at his own face, not knowing how to continue the conversation. Aren't you going overboard with your criticism? I'm young and talented, I'm accomplished, I'm blessed by the heavens, I'm chivalrous, I'm courageous. But these are all good words and positive energy. How did I bring a towering malevolence to the entire East Celestial Palace? Now that the joke is over, let's get down to business. Dongfang Haoran said indifferently. That day, the Phoenix Emperor crossed realms to kill you. If we had planned well and sacrificed you and the other Saint Monarchs, even if we couldn't kill the Phoenix Emperor, we would have been able to heavily injure the second ruler of the Yao race. She wouldn't be a threat for a long time. However, I gave the order to protect you even if the Phoenix Emperor wasn't killed. Do you know why I want to protect you? Yin Yang was taken aback. There's such a thing. The Phoenix Emperor crossed realms to kill you, risking his life. Do you know why he values you so much? Dongfang Haoran asked. Yin Yang was stunned again. He did not answer, and waited quietly for Dongfang Haoran to continue. now that I've issued a holy decree to the world, and you've even caused the heavenly voice of the Saint Tao to resound, I've conferred you the title of Yellow and Black Supreme Cloud. Do you know the reason for this? I've even made an exception and joined forces with the other 2 heavenly palaces to pray with the holy power, to promote the residence of 9 Supremes to an upper-class sect, and grant it the upper-class celestial luck banner. What is the reason for all this? Yin Yang raised his head blankly. He actually did not know anything about the last 2 things Dongfang Haoren had just said. Could it be that many things had actually happened during the time he was unconscious? Things that were completely beyond his expectations? Had the residence of 9 Supremes become an upper-class sect in a single bound? This was not just a surprise, it was a shock. Then, when I woke up, my cultivation base had advanced by a whole level. Was it actually because of the advancement of the celestial luck banner? Yin Yang sensed something in his heart. Who do you think you are? No matter how talented you are, can you advance by a level just by sleeping? Of course, it's the advancement of the celestial luck banner that feeds back to you. As the Supreme of the residence of 9 Supremes, you naturally benefit the most. Dongfang Haoren snorted and said, now you can still shamelessly say that you're a 4th-class Supreme at the age of 23. Where's your face? Is it covered by a fox's head? Do you think it doesn't exist? I just didn't want to embarrass you just now otherwise. Didn't want to embarrass me? You've King shown me off like that. Your sarcasm and gloating words have long exposed your true intentions, old thing. Yin Yang's acceptance turned into a look of shame, and he said with a pained heart, then I was wrong. My current achievements are all due to fate, not my own hard work. My hard work can at most make me a 3rd-level Pinnacle Supreme Saint by the age of 23. How about a 2nd-level Pinnacle Supreme Saint? Cough, Lord Palace Lord. May I ask what your cultivation base was when you were 23? What was the Supreme level? Tell me so this junior can be envious. Dongfang Haoren's face darkened as he said, I was born with the cultivation base of a saint. Yin Yang pursed his lips and said, my apologies, so you were born with the cultivation base of a saint. Looking at his expression, Dongfang Haoren was furious. You don't believe it? How dare you? I believe it. Yin Yang looked sincere. How can I not believe it? I firmly believe it. Dongfang Haoren deflated and guffawed. Even if you believe it, I won't. Yin Yang rolled his eyes and could not help muttering in his heart. Is this fellow stupid? Can't he tell that I'm mocking him? If you're really born with the cultivation base of a saint, then you're just someone born with great luck and an abundance of opportunities, all right? This unreliable fellow in front of me, is he really the master of the East Celestial Palace? Has this big brother been deceived? Back to the topic. Dongfang Haoren's expression turned serious as he looked at Yin Yang with slight dissatisfaction. Don't interrupt. Yin Yang was speechless. If you didn't provoke me, would I interrupt? Would I be mocking you? Yet someone could not tell. The calamity of heaven and earth is coming. And every calamity, there will be someone who will face it. At the same time, there will be someone who will be born. Because only someone who will be fated can end the calamity of heaven and earth. In this world, everyone is a person who will face the calamity, unable to escape. Dongfang Haoren turned his head abruptly to look at Yin Yang. Only you are a person who will be fated, untainted by the calamity. Me? A person who will be fated? Yin Yang was shocked. Yes, it's you. You are the person who will be fated. Dongfang Haoren strode forward and said, there are calamities in heaven and earth, because of the common accumulation of all living beings every day. The end of one cause and effect is the beginning of another. Countless causes and effects accumulate until the heaven and earth can no longer bear the burden. This is when the killing intent descends and becomes a calamity. However, the calamity of heaven and earth is triggered by the cause and effect, not extinguished by the cause and effect. Therefore, when the killing intent is about to mature, a person who will be fated will appear. With the appearance of this person, the calamity will begin. Whether the calamity of heaven and earth is successful or not, it will eventually eliminate the accumulated causes and effects. The bound of universe's calamity now is nothing more than the imminent war between the humans and the demon race. If the humans win, this calamity will end. If the demon race wins, this calamity will end as well. This is the principle of heaven and earth. You're a person who will be fated, so wherever you go, there will be a boundless sea of blood that surges to the heavens. Even with Yin Yang's intelligence and boldness, he actually felt a little fearful. He said, I don't seem to feel this way. I might not be the person who will be fated like the palace lord said. After all, my cultivation base is so low now. I didn't know who the so-called fated person is. Dongfang Haoren said, but after hearing what you did in the demon race, I can finally be sure. I guess that the Phoenix Monarch is pursuing you at all costs because of this reason. Even if he knows he can't succeed, he will still try his best to kill you. Yin Yang's gaze grew more confused. Even if he knows he can't succeed? Dongfang Haoren turned his head. There seemed to be a galaxy swirling in his eyes as he stared at Yin Yang. His voice was faint as he said, Don't you understand? Do you really not understand? The so-called fated person is someone who has great fortune to protect him. Even if he's in a situation of certain death, he can turn misfortune into fortune and find a way to live in the midst of death. Other than avoiding death and prolonging life, there are countless benefits for him. Such a person is destined not to die before the calamity ends. Even after the calamity ends, the fate of such a person will end with the end of this destiny, jumping out of the shackles of heaven and earth, and becoming even more unkillable. The human race has a prophecy, and so does the demon race. It's just that the human race's research on this is much deeper than the demon race's. Now that you've appeared and your cultivation base has reached such a high level, it means that the calamity is not far away. I hope that you can increase your ability as soon as possible, as well as that of your sect. Prepare for war. Dongfang Haoren sighed softly. I just don't know how much time is left for you. As they spoke, both of them came to a quiet place. There were jagged rocks all over the place. Many of them had already been weathered due to the passage of time. As far as the eye could see, there was a relatively intact piece of rock in the middle of the cave, with a pit in it. It seemed that someone had often sat in it, as it was unusually smooth. Since they had arrived, Dongfang Haoren's gaze had been fixed on the pit. At first glance, it looked like a very ordinary rock, at most a little harder. However, upon closer inspection, he was surprised to feel that the rock was constantly exuding a sense of peace and majesty. There were a few words embedded in the innermost part of the pit, glowing in a golden light and unusually clear. Yin Yang looked at them. Heaven has calamity. Earth has supremacy. The celestial palace is broken. The mountain of souls perishes. The demonic wind rises, shaking the heaven and earth, stirring up waves, covering the sky with clouds. Yin Yang could only feel his scalp tingle as he tried to decipher the meaning of the words. Dongfang Haoren was also looking at the line of words and said faintly, I heard that you had a title called Supreme Cloud when you were in the lower realm. Yin Yang was tongue-tied. I also heard that you have 8 other brothers, collectively known as the 9 Supremes. However, the other 8 Supremes are all dead now. Only you are left. After you ascended to the bound of universe, you built the residence of 9 Supremes to commemorate the past. You are still called Supreme Cloud. Yin Yang sucked in a deep breath. 100,000 years ago, the first palace lord of the Eastern Celestial Palace, at the last moment of his lifespan, paid the price of not leaving behind any traces of his life. He exhausted all the power of his primordial spirit to deduce the mysteries of heaven and predict the fortune and misfortune of the universe, and finally obtained these words. At that time, the senior's life force was exhausted, and he only left these words with the last bit of his soul force. Dongfang Haoren looked at Yin Yang and said softly, So in addition to your title, I confer you the title of Bound of Universe Supreme Cloud. Yin Yang was sweating profusely. I'm not telling you all this to pressure you. I just want you to understand that everything has a cause and effect. There won't be kindness or malice without a reason. The catastrophe is coming. Once the war begins, we might be able to fight. But it's impossible to stop the invasion of the demon race that's like a tidal wave. The entire East Celestial Palace has decided to fight to the death. But once the palace is breached, the responsibility of the bound of universe will be shouldered by you. No matter what, don't give up easily. He raised his hand and stopped Yun Yang from speaking, saying, "Perhaps you don't understand or understand it now, but I don't need you to understand and understand it now. I only need you to remember it." "I'll remember it." Dongfang Haoren smiled and said, "Come, let's go see the place that can help you recover and improve your soul force." "The soul-quenching pool? That's right, that's the place." Dongfang Haoren chuckled. "To save you. The soul-quenching pool has exhausted the energy it has accumulated over the years. Go see if there's a way. Don't you have a spirit's grave? Or perhaps there's another reason. What can be done?" Yin Yang's jaw dropped wider than a hippopotamus. "You even know this? Also, why do I have a faint ominous feeling in my heart? It seems like I'm going to be blackmailed today. This young master who has always been unscrupulous, and even more miserly to outsiders, is actually going to have a breakthrough today." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.